Chapter 1431. Between heaven and earth, the sparkling and resplendent energy of heaven and earth seemed to have materialized. Countless tiny and dazzling starlight spots were engraved on it, spinning continuously. Immediately, an unparalleled and vast energy surged into the starlight pillar. Oh no! The three origin ancestor elders and Nangonghang looked troubled. Their veins bulged as the powerful impact of the origin ancestor realm collided with the energy of heaven and earth. The huge collision caused the meridians of the origin ancestor elders, who lacked the power of the stars, to suffer a certain degree of backlash. The tiny amount of power of the stars gradually entered their bodies through their palms, passing through their wide meridians and flowing into their dantians. Their surging vitality immediately became chaotic and frantic. Chila, at the sparkling and translucent entrance, a thin layer of restriction that was as thin as a mirror suddenly cracked. Nangonghang was immediately overjoyed. Hold on, we're about to succeed. Looking at the three elders again, a small portion of their meridians had been blocked by the power of the stars. The stagnant flow of vitality was like a wooden plug, gradually blocking their meridians one by one. Every elder's face slowly turned red, but they could no longer stop it. They could only stare blankly as the light of vitality continued to surge out of their palms. Their weak auras shook continuously. Seeing that the three elders were in great pain, it was obvious that they had suffered an extremely powerful force and could not withstand it. The group of people behind them immediately screamed. These three elders were the cornerstones of the sect. Even if they were not at the level of the 9 stars Calamity C, they could not be taken advantage of by others. Wei Hong immediately shouted, "No! Elder Xian Shuang, stop! Elder Meng, withdraw your palms. There's danger." The elders from both sides felt that something was amiss and immediately shouted, wanting the three elders to stop attacking the restriction of the Calamity C immediately. At this moment, Nangonghang's attention was focused on the restriction at the entrance. How could he care about the lives of these people? A loud shout that sounded like a roar drifted with the wind. Nangonghang was like a madman, unwilling to stop. He used all his strength to draw down the power of the stars. Immediately, a terrifying wave of energy surged out from his body. The three elders were restrained by the power of the stars. An unknown amount of energy surged out and turned into rays of light that collided with the restriction. Rise! Bang! An even thicker crack appeared on the entire restriction. From within the crack, a majestic energy emitted a golden light that swept forward. Pucci! The chests of the three elders immediately caved in to varying degrees. It was as if a mysterious power that had transcended the ancient times was circulating in front of them, bringing with it an unparalleled might that instantly shattered the absolute domains of the three elders. A large cloud of blood mist sprayed into the sky. Xian Shuang, Sikong Shang, and the others already had no energy left. Their old skin was full of cracks caused by the surging energy. Bian was listless and did not have much strength left. His hands trembled incessantly. The three people who could not stop attacking could only watch as their yuan qi leaked out like a broken water bucket. Dark clouds pressed down, and tiny silver-white rings of lightning accompanied by the sonorous sound of wind and thunder. Heaven and earth suddenly became incomparably gloomy, and the atmosphere was dense and bleak. Between heaven and earth, gods and demons laughed wildly. At this moment, Nangonghang had changed his elegant and refined image. The aura around his body was incomparably dark and evil, as if he had come from the depths of hell. A cloud of black fog lingered in the water-blue elemental yuan qi, and an extremely strange pattern gradually appeared on his snow-white skin. "Come, give me your strength, you trash. Ha! You are lucky to be able to become the foundation for me to obtain energy. It is enough for you to be honored." After saying that, he laughed wildly again. The wind whistled, and on his palm, The power of the stars was constantly directed to the three elders' bodies through the guidance of a technique. A bunch of idiots. Do you really think that the four of you need to work together? Without this star record, you are just tools to help me open the sea of calamity. Wei Hong and the elders of the Green Flames sect cursed loudly. Nangong Hang's true colors made them so angry that their hair stood on end. Helplessly, the mediation of the power of the Origin Ancestor Realm was not something that the primitive Emperor and the Origin Void Realm could interfere with. Cracks continuously appeared on the restriction, and the boundless energy of the wind kept everyone 100 feet away, unable to get close. The resplendent power of the stars was drawn from the energy of heaven and earth, and it fused with the vigorous energy within the restriction. In an instant, an even more terrifying energy erupted. It was violent and ferocious, as if it had a domineering majesty that could destroy everything. The tide-like energy surged in all directions. Wei Hong's eyes were wide open, and they were bloodshot, seeing that Elder Xian Shuang was about to be exhausted, but there was nothing he could do. The murderous aura around him spread across heaven and earth, and his joints were being squeezed so hard that creaking sounds could be heard. It was extremely terrifying. Bastard Nangong, come at me if you dare. Don't hurt my Elder Xian Shuang. Chen Xuan and Wei Hong shouted at the same time, and their roaring voices spread across the entire valley. The gloomy dark clouds seemed to be holding up the sky, and thousands of stars surged above the void along with the thunderclouds. The low hissing sounds were like the roars of beasts, and it shook one's soul. The boundless wind formed a natural energy barrier, and Nangong Hang unscrupulously enjoyed the comfortable feeling of the mighty power of the stars passing through his body. He listened to the endless curses around him as if he was listening to a pilgrimage, and his eyes were filled with a pitiful expression. A bunch of ants, being able to become my stepping stone, is the glory of your life. Curse me. Roar. Ha ha ha. Just as the dark aura on Nangong Hang's body was gradually expanding, in the next moment, the sound of thunder resounded in the sky, and endless dark clouds gathered and surged. Suddenly, an incomparably huge purple demonic light appeared in the sky, entangling heaven and earth. In the sky, an incomparably huge purple beast shadow could be seen. It was hundreds of feet tall, and its huge body could not be seen in its complete form within the dark clouds. The beast's shadow was imposing, and it was as if it had traveled through the ancient times. It could connect heaven and earth, and all the scenes were extremely shocking. Nangong Hang, as well as the people from the Blue Cloud Palace and the Green Flame sect who were hundreds of feet away, were incomparably shocked at this moment. Someone screamed, and pairs of eyes widened like copper bells as they looked at the purple light filling the sky. The evil, but not strange demonic aura that soared into the sky seemed to have fallen from the sky, and it directly smashed onto the restriction at the entrance. Bang! Suddenly, an incomparably huge sound stirred up wind and thunder, and the incomparably vast power caused the cracks on the restriction to become even denser, and it was about to shatter. Nangong Hang's eyes were filled with shock, and he faintly felt a huge sense of danger in his heart. Who is it? Is it the heavenly tribulation? A vision from the heavens. The Green Flame sect's elder at the side screamed at the top of his lungs. Looking at the purple light filling the sky and hanging in the sky, the endless energy that could destroy everything in the blink of an eye. Chapter 1432. Only Yang Ming's eyes were shining brightly. The demonic aura around his body started to radiate with golden light, which was as bright as the sunset. Suddenly, he soared into the sky and transformed into his demonic beast form. A white ray of light about 100 feet long was entrenched in the void above. Roar! The white ray of light slowly dissipated, gradually revealing his dragon body. The dazzling white light seemed to cut through the night sky and flew straight towards the purple demonic light. At the same time, the purple demonic light also slowly dissipated. It was actually a huge palm, which was bathed in the light. Everyone could see it clearly. Thunder rumbled and lightning flashed. Then, the purple light dissipated and was replaced by a green light in the sky. Woo-woo! It was covered in green scales, and its wings were wide open on both sides. Along with the violent wind, its four wings flapped, and its cry was like the sound of a bell from the heavens. Its pair of blood-red eyes were soul-stirring. Roar! The void trembled violently. Beside him, a huge black dragon about 100 feet long appeared in front of everyone. It was glowing with a metallic light. The dragon's scales all over its body were open, and divine light filled the sky. Above the two beasts, there was a faint golden light surrounding them like a layer of golden gauze. Vaguely, the roar of a dragon slowly spread out. Majestic and impressive, heaven and earth trembled. The huge body of the sounding snake and the black dragon kept rolling in the void. The ferocious beasts' heads were ferocious, and their bloody mouths were ferocious. Situmuyang and Shursusu were completely stunned by the scene in front of them. They only saw Yang Ming rushing towards the sounding snake and the black dragon. In the blink of an eye, the three beasts were across the sky, shining brightly and dazzling. It's Junior Granduncle, and Elder Tang Wang. Situmuyang pointed at the small figures on the sounding snake's head and the black dragon's head and shouted loudly. Only then did everyone realize that the two giant beasts were actually the Demon Emperor Realm Guardians of Su Yi's Bawang sect, the Green Emperor and Yin Ming. No wonder Yang Ming seemed to be summoned and rushed towards them in his original form. Shursusu, Wei Hong, and the others stared at the scene in the distance with a strange light in their eyes. They were all shocked. Su Yi stood on the Green Emperor's original form. The strong wind in the sky was biting cold, and his hair was fluttering in the wind. His whole body was filled with divine light. He was like a young god of war, looking down on the world with supreme power. Tang Wang looked at the miserable scene below, and his heart was filled with resentment. Rumble. A voice. Su Yi nodded. He looked very determined. Suddenly, at the entrance, Nangong Heng, whose hair was blown away by the strong wind, shouted at Su Yi like a demon, Su Yi, come down and accept your death. The purple light dissipated, and the pure gold divine light was incomparably resplendent between heaven and earth. Su Yi, who was stirring up wind, had a trace of coldness between his brows. I was wondering who was shouting here. So it's you. You can't hide your foxtail anymore? Nangong Heng didn't hide anymore. His eyes were burning. The aura around him was shocking. The energy of the 7th level Origin Emperor realm was like a cold light. Today, one of us will die. Tell me all your secrets. Ha ha ha. Nangong Heng had no scruples. His eyes were full of desire. Su Yi frowned. Nangong Heng had completely exposed his true nature. Tang Wang clenched his fists. His hair stood on end. Rumble. The beasts roared. The three beasts stood side by side. They looked extremely ferocious under the overwhelming aura. When Su Yi saw that the three elders below couldn't hold on for much longer, Wei Hong and Shursusu shouted loudly. Su Yi, say my elder Xian Shuang. Su Yi and Tang Wang looked at each other and came to their senses. Su Yi's body shone brightly. The Origin Supreme technique in his body was fully activated. The mysterious light in his body shone brightly under Ling Lanin's purple light. Elder Tang Wang immediately raised his hands above his head and put his palms together. Suddenly, the aura around him surged out. Amidst the biting cold wind, Tang Wang's snow-white hair and beard fluttered behind him. A mysterious silver-white starlight surged. His eyes were filled with silver-white lightning, like two sharp swords surging out. He looked like a supreme lightning god that looked down on the world. You're courting death. You revealed the secret of my 9 stars, triggered the battle in the Chaos region, and even tried to steal my 9-star secret treasure. I think you're tired of living. Su Yi's body was surrounded by red flames. The Emperor Sparrow's figure was faintly discernible behind him. Divine light surged in his eyes like 2 rising suns. His terrifying aura was extremely shocking. Ling Lanin, lend me your strength. Boom! As soon as he said that, A majestic purple demonic aura merged with the Emperor Sparrow's demonic aura. The light intertwined like a divine chain. Su Yi's wide meridians surged with an unparalleled ancient energy. Swish! From head to toe, Su Yi's clothes were directly torn apart by the energy. His jade-like skin was overflowing with light patterns, vivid and lifelike, bright and flawless. The majestic power of the stars gathered in Tang Wang's hand. A beam of starlight that was 100 times thicker than Nan Gonghang's condensed in Tang Wang's hand. Wind and thunder could be faintly seen on it. The sonorous sound indicated the destructive might. He was like the god of thunder, and his aura shook the heavens. Su Yi, who was at the side, used his strong will to merge the two ancient energies into his palm. The fiery light and purple aura covered each other, forming a torrent of energy. In an instant, the entire heaven and earth was filled with demonic aura and light. The power of the stars gradually disappeared, and the entire heaven and earth was filled with white light. The Green Emperor and the giant dark beast opened their bloody mouths slightly. The moment the two of them released their energy, they also mixed all their energy into it. Not good. Nan Gonghang immediately felt a sense of danger. A huge black barrier rose from the bottom of his feet. At the same time, he retreated rapidly and retracted his hand seal. He retreated more than 10 feet away. After the power of the stars was removed, the three elders were able to relax a little. The moment the destructive attack arrived, they used up all their energy to retreat to the side of the people from the Green Cloud Hall. Everyone quickly formed a barrier of energy and distanced themselves from the entrance at an extremely fast speed to avoid being affected. They looked at the energy attack descending from the sky with a serious expression. So it's him. Meng Sun looked at the sky, full of white light. All the meridians in his body were blocked. He immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Looking at Nan Gonghang, who was in the black canopy, he felt a bloody taste in his chest. Elder Meng, Elder Xian Shuang. Chapter 1433. The meridians of the three elders were severely damaged after being hit by the huge force. As soon as they landed on the ground, they spat out blood and fainted. Qin Chuan and Qin Yusheng turned pale with fright. They hurriedly went up to help. Wei Hong's face turned serious. He bent down, and his palms were overflowing with energy. He slowly channeled energy into his body to check on his injuries. On the other side, the elders of the Blue Flame School were also treating Meng Sun and Elder Sikong Shan. Suddenly, there was a bright light on both sides. Only Shi Su and Sitamuyang were looking at the changes on the field anxiously. As soon as Yuan Qi entered their bodies, Wei Hong felt that the energy of the stars was blocked in their bodies, and his heart skipped a beat. Every elder was in a coma, and they couldn't withdraw their Yuan Qi. Wei Hong and Chun Chuan took turns to inject Yuan Qi into Elder Xian Shuang's body to prolong her life, and they didn't dare to leave. Beside him, Shi Su and Sitamuyang looked at the sky nervously as an incomparably huge beam of light descended from the sky with a world-destroying momentum, shaking the 9 heavens and shaking the world. At the same time, the roar of a beast, which seemed to cross the heaven and earth, made the void tremble and spread across the land. The pillar of light was dazzling. It was surrounded by countless tiny bolts of lightning and 5-color divine radiance. Crimson gold, fiery red, brilliant purple, azure blue, black, and white. These energy attributes were as gorgeous as the sun, and they seemed to have descended from the heavens. Suddenly, dark clouds gathered in the sky above the entrance, and thunder rumbled in the dark sky. A bolt of lightning flashed across the sky, and countless electric arcs intertwined with each other and descended from the sky. They were as blazing as the sun, and the dark sky was lit up as if it was daytime. Chi-chi, whoosh, the continuous sonorous thunder, accompanied by endless energy wind and sonic booms, fell from the 9 heavens. The closer it got to the entrance, the more intense it spread. Roar! Su Yi's body was covered in red fire, and his eyes were like the sun. Every inch of his body began to expand with the rise of his yuan qi. His hair was fluttering in the wind, and he was filled with red, golden fire. Like a god, the terrifying aura seemed to connect the heaven and earth, vast and surging. At the side, Tang Wang stood on the head of the Umbra ferocious beast. His whole body was covered in lightning, and silver-white bright stars revolved around him. He was like a thunder god from the ninth heaven, and the silver light on his palm crackled. The two of them were high up in the sky, standing upright in the clouds. Above the giant beast's head, it was as if they were the heavenly law's embodiment of heaven and earth. At the same time, they connected the energy to the light beam and fiercely struck down in Nan Gonghang's direction. Ku, divine radiance, overflowed around the light pillar. In an instant, the sky was filled with wind and thunder. As the beam of light descended, the phantom of a giant beast appeared above it. A peerless divine bird that resembled a phoenix let out a cry that pierced through the clouds and cracked rocks. The divine bird flapped its wings and soared around the pillar of light. Its eyes were like flames as it looked down on the world with disdain, majestic and destructive. Below the divine bird, the three beasts soared into the sky. The Green Emperor and the Yin Yang two Nether's bodies, which were about 300 meters long, emitted deep roars that shook the heavens and earth. The sound of the primeval roar of a golden dragon drifted faintly through the heavens and the earth, and it was deafening to the point of enlightening the deaf. It seemed as if it had passed through the ages to arrive here, and it was deep in the world. For beasts hanging in the sky collapsing and the earth sinking. What a powerful force! In the distance, the Green Cloud Hall and the Green Flame Sect's elders all revealed shocked gazes. This kind of energy of heaven and earth was unheard of. Everyone present had already forgotten to think. They could only watch as the phenomenon of heaven and earth changed endlessly before their eyes. Nan Gonghang, who was in the center, had a deep black light in his eyes. Even though he was under the black barrier, he could still feel the terrifying energy that was about to arrive. At this moment, his expression was extremely grave and gloomy. In the depths of the ground in the distance, waves of black aura surged between the soil, as if a black demonic flower was about to appear. Under the dark smoke, there was a pair of extremely shocked eyes. So powerful, this pair of eyes belonged to Luan Shah, who had cultivated the great sun, Azura Sword. He had listened to his cousin's instructions and sneaked into the soil when the elders began to work together to open the sea of calamity. He waited for the moment when the restriction was opened and took the opportunity to enter at any time. Now that he had witnessed such a terrifying energy fluctuation, Luan Shua's heart began to beat wildly. He cursed in his heart. His cousin was definitely not a match for it. Just as he was about to escape, the light pillar came crashing down. Luan Shua's frightened eyes shrunk. Chila, the ground where he was hiding, let out a cracking sound. An extremely crisp sound began to resound. On the sparkling restriction in the sky, cracks that were as big as a baby's arm appeared. Not good. Let's go. Luan Shua hid in the soil and felt an incomparably condensed energy spread out in the air. He circulated his black yuan qi, and his body began to sink down continuously like a fish. At the same time, the black demonic aura in his body was like a rope that firmly bound him. With a whoosh, he was pulled out of the ground by an unknown force. On the ground, Nan Gonghang, who was in the center of the energy vortex, narrowed his eyes. The yuan qi in his meridians had already been bound by the vast and unparalleled power, and he could not move even half a step. Offending the Bawang sect is an unforgivable crime. You must be killed. Su Yi occupied the head of the beast and coldly said in the air. His eyes shone with divine light as he looked down on the world. He looked at Nan Gonghang as if he was a god judging the injustice in the world. Little thief, die. At the side, Tang Wang's aura had also reached its peak. He raised his hands to the sky and violently slashed down with an unparalleled power. Bang! Amidst the earth-shaking sound, The beam of light and the restriction at the entrance violently collided. Immediately, the world trembled and the void rumbled. The shadow of the beast floated, and the impact was like a wave that caused the entire sky, Thunder Valley, to shake violently. Countless spiderweb-like cracks also spread out in the ground from the incomparably huge impact. It was terrifying. The unparalleled collision of energy directly caused the people from the Blue Cloud Palace to stagnate and retreat a few hundred meters away. After a long while, the Yuan Qi in the bodies of the people from the Blue Cloud Palace began to flow again. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the restriction at the entrance and Nangong Hang. Nangong Hang's face was as gloomy as iron. His gloomy face suddenly had a bloodthirsty look. Immediately, Nangong Hang used his palm as a knife. The incomparably powerful energy, coupled with the power of the stars, caused the entire space to tremble slightly. The sky was filled with white light, and the sonorous aura was vast and mighty. Bang! Ha ha ha! You want me to die? It's not that easy. Nangong Hang's long black hair fluttered like a wind demon. Blue veins popped out, and faint black runes covered his body. His hands were twisted and directly stabbed toward his own heart. A muffled sound came from Nangong Hang's body. In the light of the day, a black and red lotus suddenly rose inexplicably. Chapter 1434. Bang! A loud sound was heard. Blood spurted out, and the sky was scarlet red. On the other side, the extremely sturdy seal at the entrance was as bright as day. A monstrous pressure was surging in all directions. On the sparkling seal, the cracks could no longer be maintained. They instantly turned into light spots, rising and dispersing. They merged with the mighty star energy and surged between heaven and earth. It's open. The Calamity Sea is open. Everyone from the Blue Cloud Palace and the Green Flame sect opened their mouths wide. They couldn't recover from their shock for a long time. They only reacted when the thick energy that filled the sky rushed towards them. The Calamity Sea was really open. The moment it opened, the scattered clouds were like the air under high pressure. They carried the ancient power and rushed towards all parts of the sky, Thunder Valley. The surrounding flowers and trees were uprooted. Sand and stones were blown away. Some small stones were immediately turned into powder. The abundant energy of heaven and earth seemed to have been released at this moment. Even the people from the Blue Cloud Palace who were 100 feet away were nourished by the energy of heaven and earth. They immediately felt refreshed. Their vitality seemed to have been reborn. Such abundant energy of heaven and earth. I feel that my vitality has reached the peak. Qin Yu and the Green Flame sect members also noticed this abnormality. They hurriedly healed Elder Xian Shuang. Such rich energy could be used to expel the star energy in her body bit by bit. In the sky, Su Yi and Tang Wang, who saw the situation clearly, didn't feel happy about the opening of the Calamity Sea. They were incomparably radiant. Nangong Hang didn't die. Su Yi, Tang Wang, and Situ Muyang, who saw everything clearly below, simultaneously noticed a demonic lotus moving at high speed. Their expressions immediately changed. It turned out that after the huge impact disappeared, heaven and earth returned to calmness. Smoke and dust were sparse, and bloodstains were everywhere. The person who was thrown out of the demonic lotus was actually Nangong Hang's cousin. The demonic lotus became an extremely important barrier for Nangong Hang. Nangong Hang, who was completely wrapped up, didn't continue fighting. Instead, he flew towards the Calamity Sea secret realm. The blood on Wan Shua's body had dried up, and he was lying on the cracked ground at the entrance. He looked like a skeleton, and it was hard to tell if he was real or fake. Recalling the words of Elder Meng Sun before he fainted, the three elders of the Green Flame sect came to a sudden realization. Their auras fluctuated and boundless anger rose. Their auras surged as they pointed at the exotic black demonic lotus. Nangong Hang, it's him. So he was the one who killed our personal disciple. Su Yi raised his eyebrows slightly when he heard the shouts from below. He immediately urged the Green Emperor to fly toward the restriction formation at the entrance. The Yin-Yang 2 nether beside him also sped up and moved forward quickly. On the incomparably huge head of the Yin Ming, Elder Tang Wang's face gradually became a little pale after the full force attack, just now, in addition to the fact that he had just woken up. He staggered and fell directly onto the broad back of the Yin Ming. Green Emperor, go after him. Don't let Nangong escape. Su, he shouted in the air. He did not care about the primordial qi in his great void divine sea that was almost depleted. Boom! Another earth-shattering sound came. The purple demonic glow was retracted from the spiritual qi energy that filled the air. A faint phoenix cry came from far away. Su, he heard an extremely familiar voice. It was cold and lonely, as if it was whispering into his ears. It was very quiet. Su, Tian K, and I will leave first. Go into the 9-star sea of calamity on your own. Be careful. The cat's eye stone can sense my energy. We'll meet again in the future. Ling Lanin's voice was like the sound of nature echoing in his ears. Su calmed himself down. When he was ready to reply, the purple glow's silhouette was gone from the sky. Only dark clouds and thunder were left. Su Yi's eyes were filled with determination as he turned his head and looked in the direction where the purple glow and the fiery red silhouette disappeared. I promise you that no matter what the reason is, as long as the 9 spirit links needs me, I'll do it. In Su Yi's mind, Ling Lanin had put Ling Qianxue back into the Tianyuan demon soul when she was sent out of the demon forest. At that moment, looking at the determined Su Yi and Ling Lanin who was leaving, her eyes lit up again. You? Stage of Guanghu stage about Crane Li Gu Ji is identical to Thay Li Li Gu Vicent, the demon forest, the home that I've been looking for? A thought flashed through Ling Qianxue's mind, and she snapped back to reality immediately. Qianxue, you seem to be sentimental. Su Yi smiled lightly. At that moment, his soul was connected with Ling Qianxue's, so he was very sensitive to any change in her emotions. Not at all. Be careful. Don't let that black flower run away. Ling Qianxue stretched out her slender hands and wiped the tears at the corner of her eyes. She said coldly to Nan Gonghang, who was moving quickly underneath. Su Yi pondered for a moment, and his expression brightened. Yang Ming briefly told Su Yi about Meng Sun's accusation earlier. Su Yi's heart lit up at that moment. It turned out that Nan Gonghang was the one who created all the strange things in the Thunder Valley. He was really ambitious. You can go to hell now. A murderous intent gushed out of Su Yi's eyes. The fiery red aura was like a sharp blade with a cold gleam. It slashed directly at Nan Gonghang's body. Originally, because of the 9-star valley and Tang Wang, Su Yi still had some misgivings towards Nan Gonghang. However, Su Yi's temper was that if you respect me, I'll return the favor tenfold. If you hurt me in the slightest, I'll exterminate your clan. From the beginning of the 9 Stars Valley's late arrival, to the later disappearance after entering the valley, and then the secret of the star token, all of this was Nan Gonghang's scheme. The anger in his heart immediately spread to the sky. Since the situation was so clear, Nan Gonghang must die. As for Chun Yao, Su Yi still had to enter the sea of calamity to verify it. If it was true, then there was no need for the 9-star valley to exist. Green Emperor, chase after him. Su Li roared. The energy around her body swirled like needles. Yes, master. The Green Emperor's main body, the sounding snake, received the order. Immediately, a green light shone, spanning across the heavens and earth. It was as if the wind and thunder were stirring up, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Green, black, white, and red lights were like divine lights. They drew a long arc in the air a few hundred meters away. On the other side, due to the removal of the restriction, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth was like a wave that blew to a radius of a few hundred meters. The destroyed flowers and trees also seemed to have recovered, glowing with new vitality. The abundant spiritual chi of heaven and earth was the best place to heal injuries. Wei Hong and Chen Chuan were absorbing the spiritual qi of heaven and earth as if they were thirsty. They slowly channeled the spiritual qi into Elder Xian Shuang's body, helping them recover quickly. Immediately, the Green Flame sect and Blue Cloud Palace looked at Nangong Hang, who was running away. Although they were unwilling, none of them went forward to stop him. Everyone sat on the ground and bathed in the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Chapter 1435. Elder Wei. Nangong Hang is about to escape. Sita Muyang said to Wei Hong anxiously. Seeing that Wei Hong didn't respond, Sita Muyang was extremely anxious. He was like an ant on a hot pan as he shouted to the Green Flame Sect's elders. Elders, Nangong Hang is about to enter the Calamity Sea. The Green Flame Sect's elders didn't even turn their heads. They were only focused on transferring their essence qi to Xikong Shang and Elder Meng Sun. They turned a deaf ear to Situ Muyang's words. Seeing such a situation, Shi Susu's heart turned cold. She glanced at Wei Hong, but Wei Hong still didn't respond. His eyes were only concerned about Elder Xian Shuang's safety. Sigh. Shi Susu smiled indifferently and shook her head with a sigh. She immediately mobilized her essence qi, and the wind attribute qi formed around her body again. Her fairy-like appearance was ethereal. Immediately, her figure burst out like a thunderbolt and directly chased after the black demonic lotus. Situ Myong also immediately increased his primordial qi and protected himself with the Imperial Wind battlesuit. He accelerated and caught up with Shi Susu's pace. "Where are you going?" Sita Muyang and Shi Susu shouted. The two of them were already flying towards the restriction at the entrance. Wei Hong wanted to stop them, but it was too late. He sighed in his heart. After this trip to the Nine Stars Valley, everyone had a complete and clear understanding of the situation. Regardless of whether it was Chun Yao or Nangong Hang's plan, everyone was played in the palm of their hands. Of course, that included the Green Cloud Hall. They were just playing tools in the competition between Su, Yi, and the Nine Stars Valley. Since that was the case, why would the Green Cloud Hall risk their lives in the Calamity Sea at the final stage? Moreover, the Nine Stars Valley might not be able to control the dangers inside. The fact that the Blue Cloud Palace could reach this far without suffering any losses was already extremely fortunate. Recovering here and waiting for the Nine Star Valley to open, the Blue Cloud Palace would be able to leave in one piece. Only then would they not lose face as the #1 sect of the Chaos Realm. Elder Xian Shuang was severely injured, and he and Chun Chuan were only at the 9th level of the Origin Emperor Realm. Even Elder Xian Shuang had consumed so much energy to open the restriction. Wei Hong couldn't guarantee how far they could go, even if they had Sui. The Nine Stars Valley had done too much this time. Just relying on the Nine Stars Valley alone wouldn't be enough. The things that would be implicated behind the scenes would only be more serious. As the leader of this expedition, what he had to consider was no longer the opportunity, but the minimization of losses. When Qin Yushang saw Shi Susu's beautiful figure flash by, he immediately felt a little anxious in his heart. He hurriedly restrained his elemental energy and shouted loudly, "Susu, wait for me." Wei Hong was already annoyed. Seeing that Qin Yusheng also wanted to join in the fun, he immediately roared in anger. His roar is like a sudden clap of thunder. His boundless aura surges like a pair of large hands, pinning Qin Yu to the ground. "Stop right there. Do you think it's not chaotic enough?" Qin Yusheng looked at Shi Susu's back and lowered his head in embarrassment. He continued to heal Elder Xian Shuang. "Muyang is sure." Su, he shouted from the top of the Green Emperor's head. He was extremely worried. Shi Susu, who was closer to Yao Lian, arrived behind him in an instant. When Sui saw that the two of them immediately attacked, he knew that things were not going well. The Black Lotus that could block the remaining power of the light beam was definitely not an ordinary martial technique. In an instant, wind elemental energy surged around Shi Susu's body with an unstoppable force. She held the long sword in her hand tightly and formed a hand seal. A very dense elemental light enveloped her body. Wind danced mysterious, heavenly sword. The wind blades whistled and danced, crisscrossing and surging into the sky. Countless thin and small wind blades with a fierce aura directly shattered the surrounding air into fine powder. Huh. Shirsusu unleashed one attack after another. She screamed again. Tiny wind blades carried an unparalleled aura. They were like 10,000 swords returning to their master. They stirred up the abundant earth and heaven energy around. Space rippled as they attacked Evil Lotus. Yao Yin dodged left and right like a living creature, easily resolving the attacks. Nangong Hang was wrapped in it, leaving only a pair of dead eyes. Looking at the wind blades that spread out, the corner of his mouth curled up into a smile. You actually made me use the blood demon heart killing Lotus. Then, it's good to drag a few more down with me. Hee hee. Yao Yin's entire body was suffused with a black light. Tiny blood vessels wrapped around the petals and emitted an extremely demonic scarlet aura. It was hair-raising and soul-stirring. The wind blades that filled the sky were like small and dense blades that constantly cut the air into pieces. Boundless wind surged and surged towards Yao Lian's body. Bang! The black lotus suddenly shone with a bloody light. The demon petals extended and wriggled like a long tongue, instantly blowing away the wind brought by the wind blades. Xiao, the phantom black rock's claws were extremely sharp. In its fierce eyes, boundless killing intent surged. It flapped its wings and rushed towards the black lotus. Go to hell, all of you. Hee hee. Blood chi surged from Nangong Hang's body. The demonic scarlet aura surged crazily. The blood vessels on the petals flowed with an extremely bright red light. Near the entrance, several petals opened and grew crazily. The long petals were like long tentacles that corroded the phantom black rock completely. Bang! Shirsusu and Sitamuyang were directly hit by the petals of Yao Lian's demonic lotus. Immediately, they tasted blood in their chests, and their bodies were thrown high into the sky. Green Emperor. The Green Emperor obeyed and accurately caught Shirsusu and Sitamuyang. Shirsusu's mouth was bleeding, and her aura was chaotic. Sitamuyang's wind-riding battlesuit was on the verge of shattering again. Ha ha ha. A bunch of trash. Nangong Hang, who had already merged with Yao Lian, flashed and quickly escaped into the sea of calamity. Chase. Suyi's face was pale. As he muttered to himself, several figures also quickly disappeared into the white sea of calamity. At the entrance of the sea of calamity, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth was like sticky paste. As soon as Su-yi stepped in, he felt the mountain-like spiritual chi of heaven and earth pressing down on him. The Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Two Nether could no longer withstand such a huge amount of spiritual chi of heaven and earth. They transformed back into their human forms. Looking at the scene in front of them, their faces were full of shock. What appeared in front of them was a cliff. Under the cliff, there was a vast expanse of white. The sea of fog was churning, and strong winds were whistling. Between the vast sea of clouds, there was a long plank road in the middle. It was connected to 9 incomparably huge floating islands. The white sea and the blue sky corresponded to the heavens. The 9 floating islands were arranged in the same shape as the 9 stars and the moon. Each island was suspended in the air. The sea of clouds below them rose, and above the islands, the light of the stars lingered. It was mysterious and unfathomable. Each island was higher than the previous one, and each one was closer to the sky than the previous one. The highest floating island had already disappeared into the clouds. Chapter 1436. At this moment, the vast sea of clouds was surging like waves. The boundless vastness was like the martial path of the world, causing Su-yi to feel a kind of illusion and fascination. Then, the mysterious ball of light in Su-yi's mind moved abnormally, brimming with a wonderful light, and a lofty feeling rose in his heart. The sea of clouds is boundless. Who could be called king? Looking at the boundless white waves, divine light surged in the horizon, and the rolling sea of clouds was like spring thunder in the vast sea, roaring and shaking the heavens. The opportunity was right in front of him, and Su Yi's heart was filled with anticipation. Su Yi then walked to the side and focused his mind, trying to find the figure of Nangong Heng, who had turned into a demonic lotus. As soon as he entered the Calamity Sea, the abundant spiritual energy of heaven and earth concealed Nangong Heng's aura very well, and his figure was even more impossible to find in the white fog. Fortunately, he could see the entire terrain at a glance, and the plankway in the sky connected to the first island. Su Yi realized that the distance between each island was too high, and it was impossible for anyone below the Origin Ancestor realm to directly use vitality to fly. If Nangong Heng wanted to appear, he would definitely not be able to escape Su Yi's eyes. Su even stopped thinking about it and wrinkled his nose. The huge impact just now had destroyed his clothes, and he was now completely naked. He took out a white robe from his space bag and changed into it. After changing, he turned to Situ Muyang and Shursusu and said, "The energy of heaven and earth is so dense. The heaven and earth energy here is so dense. Miss Shur, Muyang, hurry up and heal your injuries. Leave the rest to me." Shursusu's wound, which had been hit by the black demonic lotus petal, was gradually healing under the surge of the energy of heaven and earth. Her eyes lit up, and she nodded slightly at Su Yi. Then she sat on the ground and breathed in and out. Then Su Yi looked at the 9 floating islands in front of him with a serious look in his eyes. Through the sensing of the aura, Su Yi could clearly feel that the energy of heaven and earth on these 9 islands was different, and even the laws were different. The nearest island was only connected by a plankway in the sky, and it was a place that he had to pass through. While Su Yi was thinking, Tang Wang, who was extremely weak, gradually recovered his essence. He looked at the vast tribulation sea with a strange look in his eyes as he spoke to Su Yi. Sect Master Su, the 9 floating islands in front of you correspond to the Big Dipper in the sky. In order, they are Tianshu Island, Tianshan Island, Tianji Island, Migres Island, Alioth Island, Kaiyang Island, Alcade Island, Dongming Island, and Hidden Yuan Island. The ancestor should be on the last island. If you want to explore the secret of Thunder Sealing Valley, you must flatten all 9 islands. The corners of Su Yi's mouth curled into a faint smile. From Tang Wang, he had learned that the 9-star Calamity Sea was originally a small world of its own. Fierce beasts, living beings, and martial artists originally lived together. It was the arrival of the 9-star progenitor that broke the original rules of this world. The higher the level of the island, the more abundant the heaven and earth energy would be. It was natural selection, survival of the fittest. After a fierce competition, according to the strength of the force, each level was finally fixed with a fixed force guarding it. It could be a martial artist, a supreme beast, or even an illusion of the heaven and earth. After all, after so many years, Tang Wang only knew so much about the 9-star Calamity Sea. He had to explore the situation inside himself. Breaking through? I love it. After hearing Tang Wang's words, Su Yi's lips curved into a smile. The Green Emperor beside him had a bright light in his eyes as he looked at the plank road in the sky. Master, that kid is over there. In the white plank road in the distance, a black demonic lotus was gradually transforming. Half of Nangong Heng's body was exposed, and a blood-red mark dyed his body red. The black essence attribute was faintly discernible in the clouds. He was anxiously walking toward the first island, and his condition was getting more and more difficult. His footsteps were stagnant, as if he was dragging 1,000 pounds of iron. Looks like he's having a hard time walking. He smiled slightly. The heaven and earth energy here that had accumulated for 10,000 years was too dense. If he did not adjust his breathing immediately, it would be like thousands of mountains pressing down on him. The heavy pressure would make it difficult for a cultivator to move. After pausing and muttering to himself for a while, Su Yi activated the Origin Supreme technique. The abundant heaven and earth energy continuously flowed into his limbs and bones. He took a deep breath and immediately felt refreshed. He muttered to himself. As expected, the great void deep sea, which had been greatly depleted, was now filled to the brim again. It flowed in all directions like a violent flood. The Green Emperor and the Yin Tu Nether beside him also had relaxed expressions. A faint golden light shrouded them, and a dragon's roar that seemed to have come from the ancient times echoed for a long time. It shook the sea of clouds and created ripples in space, which continuously extended into the distance. Looks like because of the nourishment of the dragon's breath, the heaven and earth energy of the ancient times did not restrict you too much. So did the Green Emperor and the others. Ling Qianxue's eyes sparkled. She could feel that this place was similar to the demonic aura forest. The heaven and earth energy of the ancient times was very abundant. However, this place had accumulated for tens of thousands of years and was rarely opened. Compared to the vast demonic aura forest, the density was much higher. In the demonic aura forest, because of Ling Lanin's restraint, Yi could not smoothly activate his essence qi. Without the restriction, Yi was like a dragon in the clouds or a fish in the water in the abundant heaven and earth energy of the ancient times. Hearing this, Yi activated the Origin Supreme technique with all his might. The essence qi in his wide meridians was not blocked at all. It flowed like a river without stopping. He immediately focused and looked at the blood-red figure in the distance and said softly, "Let's see where you can run to. Green Emperor, let's go." Yi revealed his snow-white teeth as if he was watching a clown act. Whoosh! Yi's figure paused. The essence qi under his feet surged. Fire essence qi rose from the soles of his feet. His entire body was like a fireball as he flew directly toward Nangonghang. Feeling the wind whistling behind him, Nangonghang, who was struggling to move, looked back in horror. Suddenly, his vision turned black. Yi and the Green Emperor behind him, as well as the Yin-Yang twins, stood in the air like gods descending from the heavens. They were looking at him with a smile on their faces. At this time, Nangonghang's hair was messy and his eyes were sunken. The strange black aura around his body surged with mysterious runes. His face was gloomy as countless thoughts flashed through his mind. Feeling that Yi's aura did not change at all, and his cultivation did not decrease, Nangonghang's face was filled with shock and confusion. Nangonghang touched the 4 star tokens in his arms. 3 of them were taken from Luan Shuo in a hurry while he was in the Blood Demon Killer Lotus. The last one was in his own hands. He did not expect that he would spend so much effort and 4 star tokens to stabilize his cultivation at the 7th level of the Origin Emperor realm. Yet, Yi looked as if nothing had happened. Chapter 1437. Yi twisted his neck as fire attributed Yuan Qi surged around his body. His killing intent soared as he looked coldly at Nangonghang. It was obvious that he had no intention of answering Nangonghang's question. Yi asked with a heavy voice, "Why are you doing all this?" Nangonghang made up his mind. The floating island was right behind him. It would be difficult for him to enter with the star energy in his body. The only way was to kill Yi and the demon overlords behind him. He then clenched his teeth. It's that idiot Luan Shuo's fault for ruining the entire plan. Nangonghang cursed in his heart. Even though Luan Shuo was dead, he still could not vent his anger at the thought of his carelessness. Nangonghang's eyes were as sharp as a blade. He lifted his head to look at Yi, his heart filled with unwillingness. Yi, if it weren't for me wanting to know your secrets, do you think you'd still be alive? Yi smiled and said calmly, "Do you mean that I should thank you?" Subsequently, the fire attribute vitality around him surged. He raised his right hand and was ready to end this once and for all. "Wait." Nangonghang raised his hands above his head to signal for a pause and said softly, "Don't you want to know why? As long as you're willing to let me go, I'll tell you everything." Yi could not help but laugh in his heart. He raised his eyebrows when Nangonghang was still negotiating with him. Do you think you have a right to talk to me about this? Nangong Hang's hands trembled slightly. His eyes flickered as he said in a deep voice, "As long as you let me go, I'll tell you everything about the plan and how to get to the last island." Oh. Suitli pondered for a while and lifted his hand to tap his chin. This was something that could be considered. Due to Tang Wang, Su-Yi could not kill Nine Star Valley completely. If he could make Tang Wang give up and find out what kind of people Chun Yao and Nine Star Valley were, he could kill Nine Star Valley 100 times just based on what happened with Nine Star Valley and 9 Spirit Links. This place was rich in resources and had been occupied by Nine Star Valley for a long time. Therefore, Nine Star Valley had a deep understanding of this place. Nangong Hang might really know something. Su-Yi then sent a vitality voice transmission to Yin Ming, asking him to inform Tang Wang to come to the vast sky plank road. The Green Emperor and Yang Ming stood on opposite sides, glaring at Nangong Hang. "It's not that I can't consider it. Tell me what you know first, and I'll see if it's worth exchanging your life for." And I, where the brazen was, to him. Nangong Hang nodded and sneered. Everything that happened after that was just a coincidence. Before the Golden Rock's secret realm opened, Chun Yao felt something strange. Unfortunately, his cultivation was not high enough, so he couldn't enter the Thunder Ceiling Valley alone. He thought of you, so he must let you enter the valley. He should have seen you once. Su-Yi nodded slightly. He wondered how Nangong Hang knew, but he signaled for Nangong Hang to continue. "Then why did you tell the other sects about the star token?" "The Valley Master hopes that someone can come in and see how the ancestor is doing. If that person is you, as long as you can enter, we will kill you in the Calamity Sea and steal your secrets. If you can't enter, I suggest that Chun Yao kill each other for the star token. This way you can also die in the Thunder Ceiling Valley. It's better to cause internal strife." Nangong Hang laughed strangely. He was very satisfied with his idea. After hearing this, Su-Yi was shocked. No wonder Chun Yao agreed to let him harvest as much as he wanted in the secret realm. Whether he could enter the 9-star Calamity Sea or not, he must die. All the plans were linked. If they were successful, the 9-star token could be removed in advance, and he would die in the 9-star Valley. The Chaos region would be in chaos. It was killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Su-Yi cursed in his heart. Su-Yi could understand the first 2 points, but chaos in the Chaos region? What benefits would there be? Did the 9-star Valley really have the ability to challenge the Blue Cloud Palace? Su-Yi calmed down. He was clear about Chun Yao's plan, but there was still a crucial point that he didn't understand. "Then why didn't you follow the plan and not listen to Chun Yao to monitor me?" Su-Yi continued to ask. Thinking of this, Nangong Hang frowned and scolded angrily. Who knew that the space rules in the Thunder Ceiling Valley would change because of the token? Everyone appeared in different places and searched everywhere, but there was no trace of your aura. In order to seize the opportunity, I could only let that idiot Luan Shua kill as much as he could, but he actually missed you. Thinking of the dead Luan Shaw, Nangong Hang cracked his knuckles. In order to make things easier for Luan Shaw, I changed all the guards in the Star Field and the Heavenly Thunderdrome. Otherwise, do you think you could walk out so easily? Su-Yi immediately understood that everything was because of greed. Nangong Hang let his brother enter the Thunder Ceiling Valley for his own selfish desires. In the end, he was too smart for his own good. This person can't be left alive. He's too scheming. It seems that he hasn't told the whole truth yet, Ling Qianxue said faintly. Immediately, Su-Yi moved his palm and looked at the boundless sea of clouds below. Even if you had thousands of skills and cultivation, you would probably be smashed into pieces if you fell. Indeed, Su-Yi noticed something. Letting Su-Yi enter the Sea of Calamity to seize the opportunity and secrets on Su-Yi was Chun Yao's idea. It was also very much in line with Chun Yao's personality. However, after the star token was leaked, causing chaos, changing the guards, and sending Luan Shua to monitor them from behind should all be Nangong Hang's idea. Su-Yi's mind was racing. Who exactly was Nangong Hang? A monstrous city lord of the 7th level Origin Emperor realm was already suspicious, but Chen Yao had the intention of following his lead. There was only one question. Who was Nangong Hang? How did he have so much power? Why does Chen Yao listen to you so much? Nangong Hang paused for a moment. His expression became a little unnatural. Chen Yao is so stupid. If he doesn't listen to me, he's nothing. A cripple. At this moment, Tang Wang and Yi Ming had already walked close behind him. His hair was fluttering in the wind, and his expression was very serious as he scolded angrily. How can my 9-star valley have such a cruel and unscrupulous person like you? You're evil and greedy. The Valley Lord is incomparably noble and ambitious. How can he listen to your orders? Hearing this, Nangong Hang laughed loudly. His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, and his arrogant laughter shook the entire cliff. Chapter 1438. Bastard, you're courting death. Tang Wang immediately activated the absolute domain of the origin ancestor realm. A strong wind blew through the space, causing the entire walkway to shake slightly. Su Yi hurriedly stopped Tang Wang and asked in a low voice with a solemn expression, "Can I go now?" Nangong Hang looked at Tang Wang, who was mad, and his heart was full of disdain. The arrival of a 9-star valley was a complete joke. Don't worry. Tell me, how can I meet the ancestor? Su Yi was not in a hurry. The Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang underworld duo sealed their auras and blocked the way. Nangong Hang had yet to tell him how to get to the last island. Nangong Hang gritted his teeth, knowing that he could not escape. His demonic brows were deep and dignified as he said fiercely, "Heaven, earth, man, earth, heaven, and nature. The first 3 beast spirit islands, the middle 3 earth spirit islands, and the last 3 man spirit islands." The star token was left behind by the 9-star ancestor when he founded the sect. If you want to get to the hidden origin island and meet the 9-star ancestor, the star token is the key. How many and how do I use them? Su Yi continued to ask. Nangong Hang shook his head slightly, indicating that he did not know and was slightly impatient. Have you asked enough? Can I go now? Su Yi shook his finger. It seemed that it was not wrong to accumulate more star tokens. Su Yi said softly, "I'll give you 2 choices. Either you tell me who you are, or you leave all the star tokens on you." Nangong Hang's eyes were slightly burning with anger. Seeing that Su Yi was not tricked by him, Nangong Hang shouted, "You went back on your words. Su Yi, you bastard. Do you really think I'm afraid of you?" Nangong Hang jumped up and down, his half-naked body climbing on the black, demonic flower petals as his blood vessels bulged. Tang Wang said coldly, "Su Yi promised to let you go, but I didn't. You betrayed your master and ancestors and forgot your sect." Immediately, Tang Wang's aura surged as the absolute domain of the origin ancestor realm was forcefully unleashed. It surged towards Nangong Hang like a strong gale. Nangong Hang, who was at the 7th level of the origin emperor realm, was not afraid at all. The blood demon heart slaying lotus around him once again bloomed with scarlet light, blocking the absolute domain. Tang Wang, who had just exhausted his Yuan Qi, was secretly alarmed when he saw his absolute domain being blocked. What kind of evil martial skill is this? It's so powerful. Before he could finish his sentence, Nangong Hang seemed to have made up his mind that Tang Wang would not let him go no matter what. Nangong Hang spoke like a madman. "Enter the 9 Stars Valley. You want to know my background? If I can't get it, then let's die together." Nangong Hang's hands were like knives as they pierced into his heart once more. Immediately, the thick blood vessels shone brightly as the blood demon, heart-slaying lotus wrapped around Nangong Hang once more like an evil spirit's giant hand. Blood rained down from the sky like a mist. Amidst the blood rain, the blood demon heart slaying lotus was like a ball of blood. It kept expanding on the spot as it let out a dull gurgling sound. When Su Yi saw this, his heart skipped a beat. Oh no, this kid is trying to escape. In the blink of an eye, Nangong Hang's aura surged like a red-stem meatball as he rushed over on the long plank road while the clouds rolled. Rumble! The huge wave of aura carried an aura that could crush everything as it broke through Tang Wang's absolute domain that had yet to recover. Immediately, the blood-red light shone brightly as it broke through the four people's encirclement and headed towards Shirsusu and Situmuyang, who were at the entrance. Stop him! Up until now, Nangong Hang's performance was even more terrifying than Xin Yao's. No one knew what kind of power he had behind him. Sui knew that he had to capture Nangong Hang alive, or there would be endless trouble in the future. Whoosh! After Nangong Hang, who was like a ball of blood, passed through the encirclement, leaving behind a few afterimages in the air. His huge figure quickly slipped through the air. Sui and Tang Wang were anxious as they hurriedly circulated their yuan qi. After a few breaths, they stopped a few dozen feet away from the cliff. Huff! Sui placed his hands on his knees as he cursed Nangong Hang's 18 generations of ancestors in his heart. This time, he was in such a hurry that he panted heavily as he looked at Nangong Hang from the corner of his eyes. Run! Why don't you keep running? You're faster than a rabbit when it comes to running for your life. Sui scolded as he signaled with his eyes. He pulled Situ Muyang and Shirsusu, who were meditating and had been disturbed, behind him. The two of them stood up and retreated behind him as they looked at each other with furrowed brows. Sui, you shameless person. I've already told you. Why aren't you letting me go? Sui said helplessly as he spread out his hands. He said righteously, Did I say that I'm not letting you go? It's just that you haven't answered your last question. Moreover, you broke the rules of the 9-Star Valley. What does Tang Wang killing you have to do with me? Nangong Hang, who knew that he couldn't escape, no longer had the slightest bit of gentleness. The demonic black runes around his body began to surge. An extremely strange aura suddenly surged into the sky. Goo-goo! On Nangong Hang's demonic lotus petals, a huge blood-colored tube bulged out. A ball-like thing was constantly moving within the blood vessels. Rising from the bottom of his feet, Nangong Hang's aura became extremely red, as if he was bathed in blood. Blood gradually flowed out from his facial orifices. Blood chi and dark runes. As they fused together, an extremely strange pattern appeared behind him. Sui had some impression of it. However, he had already forgotten where he had seen it and where it came from. Oh no, he's going to self-destruct. Ling Xinxue, who was in the heavenly origin demon soul, was awakened by the strange radiance on Nangong Hang's body as she screamed in shock. TSK, you want to know my sect with just the likes of you? All of you go to hell. Lowly people. Nangong Hang, who was in the demonic lotus, widened his eyes and emitted an evil light. His veins were bulging and the corners of his mouth curled up into a terrifying smile. Retreat. Sui immediately activated the Origin Supreme technique with all his might. Together with Tang Wang, at the moment when Nangong Hang exploded, Tang Wang activated his absolute domain with all his might. Sui opened up the mysterious space and firmly blocked Shirsusu and Situmuyang behind him. Roar! The three beasts roared together and transformed into their original forms. A faint dragon roar could be heard as 3 pillars of light collided with the bloodlight. Immediately, Nangong Hang's explosion was completely excluded. Bang! A large cloud of blood mist rose into the air like a mushroom. Broken limbs flew everywhere, and only a sentence was left in the air. Sui, they won't let you go? Ha ha ha. Shirsusu immediately felt an extremely majestic energy of heaven and earth rising in front of her. The energy was like a light shield that isolated her. Under Shirsusu's surprised gaze, Sui kept the mysterious space in a few breaths. Situ Muyang and Shirsusu were a little stunned by the scene in front of them. Blood mist sprayed everywhere, and all kinds of debris filled the void. A small space bag was left behind by Nangong Hang because of a strong restriction. It was not damaged by the self-destruction. Chapter 1439. Sui opened the space bag to take a look. Other than a considerable amount of origin stones, there were also many yellow-grade medicinal pills and even a few profound-grade medicinal pills. There are also 4-star tokens, 3 from Wan Shua, 1 from Nangong Heng, 4 from the Dark Gate, and 1 from Sui. He had a total of 9-star tokens. However, the star power in them had long since left with Nangong Heng. They had returned to their original purplish-gold-black state, which looked very ordinary. With so many star tokens, it should be enough. Although I don't really understand Nangong Heng's intentions, it's best to be safe. Sui thought in his heart. Tang Wang, who was at the side, looked at the sea of clouds in the sky. His eyes were unfocused. The blood mist and the rolling sea of clouds merged into one. Could it be that the 9-star valley is like the cloud sea? Or has it been so dirty from the beginning? Sui knew that Nangong Heng's words had completely overturned Tang Wang's impression of the 9-star valley. Tang Wang had received enlightenment and gifts from the 9-star valley since he was young. Everything he had was given by the 9-star valley. It was as if one day someone told you that your respected master or father was the greatest villain in the world. No one could accept this kind of truth. This kind of truth was cruel and merciless. It was like a knife that was gouging Tang Wang's heart. Sui obviously knew that Nangong Heng was telling the truth. At least in Chen Yao's hands, the 9-star valley was no longer what it used to be. He sighed in his heart. Looking at the old Elder Tang Wang, he sighed slightly. Elder Tang, some things can't be seen with the naked eye. Maybe the 9-star valley isn't what you think it is. Sui walked forward and said softly. Tang Wang's clothes fluttered in the wind, and the silver hair on his temples fluttered. He stared blankly in the air. Unknowingly, his back seemed to have aged 10 years. Taking over people's territory, despicable villains. Could the rumors be true? Tang Wang muttered to himself. He had once heard some rumors about the 9-star valley. However, even with his carefree nature, he had laughed it off. He firmly believed that the 9-star valley that he loved would not be so pathetic. Naturally, Sui knew about the grudge between the 9-star valley and the 9 spirit links. The Thunder Ceiling Valley was actually the result of the confrontation between the 9-star valley and the 9 spirit links. However, how could Sui tell Tang Wang about that? A lifetime of faith was like a flame that burned for a lifetime. In the end, someone told me that I was the one who spread the fire to the world. It was the same for success and failure. The collapse of one's faith would be more serious than the collapse of one's body. Sui knew that Elder Tang Wang, who was proud of the 9 Stars Valley, would never agree. Sui and Sita Muyang glanced at each other. Sui hoped that Sita Muyang would comfort her, while Sita Muyang didn't know the situation, but hoped that Sui would step forward bravely, just as the two were in a dilemma. Tang Wang took a few deep breaths and looked at the rolling white waves in the sky as he spoke to Sui. Sect Leader Sui, I'd like you to promise me something. Tang Wang's voice was choked up as soon as he finished speaking. His hands that had lost most of their vitality were like withered leaves that had been weathered by wind and frost. He held Sui's arm tightly as he spoke in an almost pleading tone. Sui was a little terrified. No matter what, Tang Wang was his senior. Perhaps this was the first time Tang Wang was begging someone in his life. Sui could not help but recall how wild Tang Wang and Xia Wuxi were when they were fooling around for the first time. From this, one could imagine how important the 9 Stars Valley was to him. Elder Tang, please speak your mind. I can't accept this. Sui was embarrassed. In Tang Wang's yellowish eyes, 2 lines of sparkling hot tears rolled down. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and humiliation, as if he had been humiliated when someone told him that the treasure he had guarded for his entire life was a fake. Sui gently helped Tang Wang up. At this moment, Tang Wang didn't have much strength left. He said to Sui, Sect Leader Sui, if you are able to see the old ancestor, please ask him to prove to us that our 9-Star Valley is not that kind of dirty sect. All right, Sui said to Tang Wang with certainty. No matter what the truth was, Sui hoped that the 9-Star Valley's old ancestor could give Tang Wang a perfect explanation. He didn't want the hope that he had guarded for his entire life to be extinguished because of some random words. After speaking, Tang Wang choked up again. His face trembled slightly as he faced the gloomy, clouds alone. He no longer spoke. His heart was filled with complicated emotions. Looking from afar, his aged back was like a candle flame that was desperately burning. He was struggling to resist the cool breeze. Su and Sitamyang also felt a little stifled in their hearts. Su-yi, on the other hand, smiled brightly at everyone. "What's wrong? This is such a good place for cultivation. Why are you pulling a long face? This place is very beneficial to you. You should cherish it and cultivate. I will go and explore that floating island first." After listening to Su-yi's words, Su and Sitamyang gradually revealed bright smiles. Su-yi was right. It would be a waste if they didn't use such a good place to cultivate. There were only 2 days left before the 9-Star Valley opened. It was time to cultivate diligently. When Su looked at Su-yi again, her eyes were full of splendor. The ability that Su-yi inadvertently showed just now made Su completely relieved. She even faintly looked forward to Su-yi obtaining the opportunity and returning smoothly. Su-yi nodded to the two of them and looked at the 9 floating islands behind him. He held the bag of star tokens tightly in his hand, and a desire to conquer suddenly ignited in his heart. "Chunyao, let me pluck it, right? I'm sorry, just wait for your bankruptcy." Su-yi's lips curled into a mysterious smile. The first 3 beast spiritual islands, the middle 3 earth spiritual islands, and the last 3 human spiritual islands. Su-yi secretly thought about what Nangong Hang had just said. It seemed that the first 3 islands should be guarded by the Beast Clan experts. In that case, it couldn't be better. Green Emperor, Yin Ming, and Yang Ming, follow me to the islands. Su-yi shouted loudly. His deep voice was like thunder on the ground. His voice was majestic, and his long robe fluttered behind him. His heroic and mighty temperament suddenly shook the sky. Yes, the 3 of them shouted together like a tsunami, mixed with the faint roar of beasts and the lingering power of the golden dragon, resounding through the world. The 4 of them stepped on the clouds. Using the plank road in the sky, Su-yi turned into a little bit of flowing light and arrived at the first island in less than half a day. The island was full of strange flowers and plants, standing high above the sea of clouds. The sky and sea were connected, and the waves splashed. On the island, one could only rely on the fresh and lush stems to distinguish that they were still on the ground and not in the sea of clouds. Suddenly, Su-yi felt relaxed and happy. The continuous mountain range in the distance blended into the thousands of miles of clear sky and boundless clouds. Chapter 1440. The Green Emperor and the Yin Yang 2 Nether Brothers could gradually feel the space around Su-yi rippling, forming a small air vortex, expelling the surrounding air aura far away. Is Master practicing some kind of peerless cultivation technique? With this thought, the Green Emperor and the Yin Yang twins glanced at each other and tacitly walked forward, keeping a distance from Su-yi and standing guard behind him. Roar! Rustle! As they walked deeper into the island, there would occasionally be rustling sounds coming from the forest. It seemed that some Yao race brute Yao beast had sensed Su-yi's aura and fled far away. Su-yi focused his mind and looked forward, but he could not sense any trace of life. When he looked back, the Green Emperor and the others had already kept a very long distance from him. "Hey, why are you guys so far away from me?" Bang! Under the illumination of the sky, the blazing sun that was like a golden plate was suddenly covered by an incomparably huge figure. Su-yi immediately teleported, Yuan Shi gathering under his feet, and a palm of light shot out from his hand, colliding with Mi Tian's figure like a bolt of lightning. Bang! 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 Immediately after, there were 3 more muffled sounds. Green, black, and white lights erupted at the same time, and a surge of Yao Qi filled the air, shaking the heavens. The violent collision caused the entire floating island to shake, and the flowers and trees on the side were instantly pulverized. It was a terrifying sight. Roar! Su-yi raised his head and looked over. A giant white ape the size of a small mountain was patting its chest and roaring at the sky. The unparalleled force of its roar instantly overturned the surrounding ground. It was a terrifying sight to behold. Bang! Bang! The white ape slammed its two massive fists repeatedly on the ground, causing tiny cracks to appear. It glared at Su-Yi with its bell-like eyes, warning him of Su-Yi's threat. It roared continuously, showing off its might. All of you, stand down and leave Heavenly Spiral Island with this stupid human. Don't disturb my boss's cultivation, he said to the Green Emperor and the others behind him in beast language. A low roar of a beast shook the forest. Little monkey, you're pretty interesting. You're so noisy. Ling Qinxue was interested. She looked at the giant ape in front of her and roared continuously. Su-Yi scratched his ears. A mere demonic, illusionary realm barbaric beast dared to cause trouble here. In the entire sky barbarian continent, savage beasts were not the same as savage demon beasts. Generally, savage beasts could only be called savage demon beasts after reaching the demon illusionary realm. Only then could they be considered a true member of the demon clan. As for the demon beasts of the barbarian tribe, due to the inheritance of their bloodline, as long as they grew up smoothly, they would at least reach the demon illusionary realm. Therefore, the demon cubs that lived on the starting line were born as members of the demon clan. After reaching the demon illusionary realm, ordinary savage demon beasts would go through their first tribulation. After going through the initial tribulation, they would be blessed by the heavens and earth and be able to speak human language. When they reached the demon emperor realm, savage beasts and spiritual creatures would face their second tribulation. Of course, none of this had anything to do with Handsome Su, the supreme of the demon clan. Thinking of Handsome Su, Su-Yi rolled his eyes again. Therefore, Su-Yi looked at the white ape in front of him with disdain. How dare a little animal that hasn't even gone through the initial tribulation yell here? The white ape roared angrily again. It raised its head to the sky and bared its fangs. The deafening sound was like a thunderclap in spring. Its bulging chest shone with a metallic luster under the sunlight. You can understand me? The white ape looked at Su-Yi with a hint of surprise in its eyes, as if it was looking at a monster. Su-Yi didn't even look at the white ape. He immediately activated the Art of Origin. A vast, ancient aura spread out and covered the entire front of the island. Suddenly, the white ape retreated quickly. It roared again and again. With a push of its giant paw, it was already hidden in the forest. Supreme. The white ape's eyes were filled with respect and fear, as if it was looking at the supreme of the demon clan. It then continued speaking in human language. You've gone through the tribulation? Su-Yi said with a smile. The giant white ape's beady eyes scanned Su-Yi from head to toe. It then moved closer to Su-Yi and twitched its nose. It's none of your business. If you're not the supreme of the demon clan, who are you? Why is your aura so domineering? Su-Yi couldn't help but laugh. He felt that the white ape was a little dumb. He immediately gave the Green Emperor a look. Boom! The Green Emperor revealed his true form. The island suddenly shone with a green light. The emerald-sounding snake's body was covered in scales, and its 4 wings were blowing wind. From time to time, a faint golden glow would spread out, and a pair of ferocious dragon-like eyes would stare viciously at the giant white ape. Compared to the 100-foot-long body, the giant white ape looked minuscule. Roar! The white ape immediately spun around on the spot. It was very happy. It kept extending its giant paws at the Green Emperor in the sky. So powerful, so powerful. Not long after, the Green Emperor transformed back into his human form and said respectfully to Su-Yi, Master. Su-Yi looked at the white ape in front of him. Its giant body kept twisting in the air. He found it funny. Hey, get your boss out here. I have something to ask him. The white ape saw that even the Green Emperor called him master. Su-Yi was indeed powerful. It scratched its head and said to him, Then you wait. It's been a long time since a human came to the island. I'll go ask our boss. Su-Yi then turned around and looked at the entire Heavenly Jade Island. The island was not big. The vegetation was lush and the clouds were rolling. The entire island was filled with celestial chi. It was indeed a good place to cultivate. The three beast spiritual islands that Nangonghang mentioned should be the Dubhe, Heavenly Jade, and Fekta Islands. These three islands should be controlled by the beasts. While he was deep in thought, the forest shook rapidly. The leaves rustled and fell. "Human, my boss asked you to come in." After a while, the giant white ape brought Su-Yi to the front of a stone palace. A statue of a giant white ape stood on top of the palace. It was vivid and lifelike, its mouth wide open as it looked down at the heavens. It was filled with a sense of challenge to the heavens. "Heavenly Snow Ape." Ling Qinshue's eyes flashed with excitement and surprise. Sui asked, "You know about it?" Ling Qinshu explained softly. The celestial snow ape and the nine spirit lynx were ancient demonic sovereigns. Their bloodlines were even more noble than the great demons that were still alive. However, after so many years, just like the nine spirit lynx, the celestial snow ape had disappeared without a trace. The heavenly snow ape was as big as the sky. It could fight the golden-winged rock for 3 days and 3 nights. It had terrifying combat strength and endurance. Could it be that the heavenly snow ape is still alive? Bang, bang. The giant white ape broke its train of thought and ran forward, hopping and hopping. "Let's go. Don't let the boss wait." So he was slightly confused. The white ape was not very talented. It was not very sensitive to the primordial chaos supreme technique. It was hard to imagine how terrifying the boss was. "Did you subdue them again?" Ling Qinshu teased. Su-Yi looked at the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Tu nether behind him. He was pleased with himself when he recalled the miserable state of subduing them. "Let's go. Let's go in and take a look. Please remember the domain name of this book.com. Wonderful book mobile version website.com. Chapter 1441. Rather than calling it a palace, it was more like a long cave. Stone lamps, stone sculptures, stone tablets, everything was made of stone. The dim light illuminated the long passageway, making it seem very ancient. An ancient aura immediately appeared. Su-Yi recalled the Stone Age that he had learned about on Earth. Giant white apes, Zhou Kodian, and the cavemen. "Boss, I brought the humans in." The giant white ape was already running in front, cheering. Its deafening roar shook the entire passageway. After passing through the passageway, they saw a large forest plain. According to the giant white ape, this was their tribe, called the Heavenly Tribe. The vast Heavenly Desire Tribe was actually just a small, open area in the forest. It looked very primitive, but there were more than a dozen giant apes that were about the same level of cultivation as the giant white ape. Each of them had their hands hooked on the branches, and they were very agile as they climbed. One after another, gigantic apes swayed back and forth in the forest. Those who were crawling on the ground used their 2 gigantic fleshy palms to slap the ground, then turned around and patted their chests. The violent and manic atmosphere rendered the entire forest, and the soft grass-covered ground began to tremble slightly. Roar! Roar! The roar of all the white apes shook the forest, and the leaves in the forest shook like sifting chaff. It was a huge scene. Su-Yi looked at so many giant apes and was slightly shocked. Although their cultivation levels were not high, he slowly followed behind the giant white apes into the forest. Each and every one of the white apes was huge in size and emanated a murderous aura. With bulging muscles and broad backs, they stared at Su-Yi, the Green Emperor, and the others behind him with ferocious eyes. Although their cultivation levels are not high, their size and strength are enough to scare people to death. Su-Yi's heart skipped a beat. He was like a dwarf in front of these giants. Su-Yi saw an ape bigger than the giant white ape walking toward him. Its eyes were fierce, and there was a patch of gray hair on its head. It looked at Su-Yi in a very unfriendly manner. "Iron Fist, why did you bring a human in? Don't you know it's the humans who got us into trouble? Gray hair? Not happy? Boss asked me to bring him in." The ape called Gray Hair raised its eyebrows, as if it had been provoked. It breathed heavily from its nose and stared fiercely at Su-Yi with its blood-red eyes. Brat, there isn't a single good human being. I am the second demon king of the desiring snow ape. Speak. What is your goal? What are you doing here? Su-Yi looked askance at the so-called second demon king, whose body was large enough to blot out the sun, and his heart was filled with ridicule. What kind of second demon king was this? He was only at the 8th level of the demon void stage. His cultivation base was similar to Iron Fist's, yet he called himself a demon king. Other than his size, how could he be compared to the desiring snow ape of the past? If he really was the descendant of the heaven-desiring snow ape, such a lousy demon talent was truly a disgrace to the name of the big ancient demon. Su-Yi couldn't help but think of the little golden snake and the others who were still in Azure Water City. Their talent was much better than the ape in front of him. The eyes of the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang two nether behind him were filled with smiles. They looked at the two big fellows in front of them with interest and wanted to see what kind of tricks they had up their sleeves. Su-Yi, the cultivation base of the barbaric demon beast here is a little too low. The heaven and earth spiritual energy is so dense. It shouldn't be like this. Hearing Ling Qinshua's words, Su-Yi nodded his head slightly. Compared to the demon aura forest, the heaven and earth spiritual energy here was not inferior. They should be the two most suitable places for cultivation in the entire Thunder Ceiling Valley. How could there be such low-level barbaric demon beasts here? Probably not many people would believe that he was the descendant of the heaven-desiring snow ape. Su-Yi thought so. It's my first time in your precious land. I don't want to disturb you guys. I'm here to ask your boss something. Gray Hair's furry face trembled when he heard Su-Yi's words. His extremely ugly lips curled up slightly as he spoke in a muffled voice. Yes, but if you want to see our boss, you'll have to pass through my second leader first. As soon as he finished speaking, Gray Hair leaped into the air. A mountain-like demon aura soared into the sky and set off huge waves in the air, enveloping Su-Yi. Gray Hair's iron fist, which was as heavy as a mountain, suddenly came crashing down on him. The immense power brought with it a demonic aura that filled the sky, enveloping the entire Heavenly Desire tribe. The ferocious fist aura broke through the heavens. Amidst the roar of a beast, Gray Hair threw a heaven-shaking heavy punch at Su-Yi. Su-Yi smiled and turned to the Green Emperor and the rest behind him. He said, "Looks like you guys have monkey barbecued meat to eat." The Green Emperor and the rest, who had not had a sumptuous meal for a long time, immediately thought of the sizzling and tender barbecued meat. They immediately drooled and their eyes lit up. Gray Hair, who was like a small hill in front of them, instantly turned into a steaming and oily giant meat mountain in the eyes of the Green Emperor and the rest. Yes, it might not taste good. The skin is a little thick, but I'll make do with it. Su-Yi laughed heartily as he looked at the Green Emperor and the others. Instantly, he disappeared from where he stood. With a flip of his body, he drew a strange arc in the air. Perhaps Gray Hair was used to being arrogant and domineering in the tribe. As soon as he made his move, the other apes all hid far away. They cheered and cheered as if they were watching a show. Bang! An earth-shattering sonic boom resounded, and spatial ripples immediately spread out in the air. Gray Hair's iron fist, which was as heavy as a mountain, smashed a huge hole in the ground. The sound of the explosion resounded through the heavens and the earth. The grass and trees on the ground were instantly sent flying. The surrounding forest shook violently, and the trees trembled. Just when Gray Hair thought that Su-Yi had turned into a pile of meat paste, he slowly got up and was about to withdraw his fist. A cold wind blew behind him, and the smug expression on Gray Hair's face immediately turned into one of horror. Boom! In the blink of an eye, a flame rose behind Gray Hair and appeared behind him. It was Su-Yi who was circulating his Yuan Qi. Su-Yi's body was shrouded in the light of the fire attribute Yuan Qi. The light was as bright as the clouds, and the strange divine light rippled. He was like a god. The destructive and domineering aura resounded through the sky. Boom! A cold light shot out from Su Yi's eyes as he activated the primeval chaos supreme technique. His figure soared into the air as he shouted, "Break!" Between the pushing and retracting of his palms, a few light pillars like fire dragons continuously shot out from his palms. Bang! Bang! Suddenly, gray hair felt an unparalleled force that came from the ancient times. A kind of incomparable power from top to bottom firmly suppressed his soul. It was as if he would kneel on the ground and kowtow to the demon god at any time. At the same time, Su Yi's fire attribute Yuan Qi ignited the clump of hair on the top of Gray Hair's head. The sparks instantly rose, and Gray Hair's entire head began to burn. Please remember the domain name of this book.com. Wonderful book mobile version website.com. Chapter 1442. Wah! Gray Hair's two fat and fleshy palms, which were crisscrossed with gullies, kept slapping the fire on top of his head. He screamed, and his demonic aura rose to resist the erosion of the fire. The painful screams in his mouth penetrated the hearts of the surrounding apes. Compared to the pain on his head, Gray Hair suffered more from the suppression and terror on his soul. It was as if an ancient supreme being had descended, crushing Gray Hair like a speck of dust. When the apes saw Gray Hair's huge body trembling on the ground, their eyes were filled with fear and horror. Supreme, it's the arrival of a supreme being. Gray Hair kept wailing on the ground as he hugged his aching leg. There was no longer any trace of arrogance on his face. Instead, he was in great pain. The apes at the side looked over in horror as they jumped down from the forest. Beastly roars could be heard as they panicked. Following the low roar of the apes, all the white apes knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Su Yi as if they were a god. Su Yi's brows furrowed. Immediately, he circulated the aura of the Origin Supreme technique to the maximum. Immediately, a vigorous aura that seemed to have transcended 1,000 years spread throughout the entire Heavenly Desire tribe like a wave. It was as though a god had descended to the mortal world. Having seen Su Yi's supreme aura, Iron Fist was no longer afraid. Looking at all the monkeys in the tribe as if they were worshipping a god, he suddenly felt full of pride. He said to Gray Hair, who was in a sorry state, "How is it? Gray Hair, aren't you the second demon king? Get up and continue to fight with him." Iron Fist waved his hands as he looked at Gray Hair, who was lying on the ground and didn't dare to raise his head. He looked up to the sky as if he had vented the anger that had been pinned up in his heart for a long time. Su Yi landed on the ground slowly and frowned, revealing a cold glint in his eyes. He looked at the mountain monkeys prostrating on the ground, and his heart was filled with doubts. What exactly happened here? Even if they weren't the descendants of the Heavenly Desire Snow ape, these barbaric beasts shouldn't be so weak just based on the vitality here. Dong dong. Just as Su Yi was about to approach Gray Hair, the supreme origin technique in his body seemed to have sensed something. A black shadow fell from the sky from afar. "Master, be careful." Boom! In the great void deep sea, streams of primordial chi surged wildly like raging waves. Instantly, primordial chi rose from beneath Su Yi's feet as he retreated explosively. Several afterimages flashed through the air as she moved several tens of meters away from her original position, a trace of murderous intent flashing across her starry eyes as a small, in the distance, instantly transformed into Mi Tian's figure. Roar! A figure whose aura was 10,000 times more terrifying than all the white apes present flew over. A face that was even bigger than Su Yi's appeared in front of Su Yi. It was a 4th-level demon emperor realm beast. The snow-white ape's flawless white fur fluttered in the wind. It was as if a divine ape had come to life. Due to the difference in bloodline and race, a 4th-level demon emperor was far superior to a 4th-level origin emperor. Still too weak, Ling Qianxue said softly within the heavenly Yuan demon soul. If she were to cultivate in such a place for many years, she would have broken through to the demon ancestor realm long ago. "Who are you? Despicable human." The huge white ape was like an entire mountain behind the heaven-desiring tribe. Its fierce eyes were blazing like the morning sun as it stared at Su-yi. Its soft voice was like an ancient bell. The sound that shook the void was like a boundless sound wave that blew the trees around to the ground. Su-yi was immediately shocked. In terms of size, this giant ape was a little different from Ling Lanin and the golden-winged roc, but it was still shocking enough. Immediately, Su-yi activated the Origin Supreme technique, and at the same time, activated the heavenly Yuan demon soul in his body to the extreme. What followed was the descent of an extremely terrifying aura. It was as if a divine aura had passed through the ancient times, crossed the endless river of time, and connected the world. A terrifying and boundless force swept out from Su-yi's body as the center. A huge energy vortex tore through the air, creating layers of ripples as it attacked Su-yi. In the next moment, the snow-white ape's white fur was torn to shreds by the majestic and domineering tearing force. Its eyes were filled with extreme fear, as if it had seen the supreme demon of the demon clan. Then, the snow-white ape disappeared into thin air. A man in his 30s, who was about 2 meters tall and masculine, with a high nose and a sculpture-like profile, slowly walked out from the depths of the forest. His muscles were extremely well-developed, and his hair was combed back. His shiny muscles were brimming with a metallic glow, which made people tense up for no reason. He was mighty. "Get up, all of you. Are you all scared by a human? Get up." His voice shook the heavens and the earth, shaking their souls. Gray hair and the giant white ape beside him helped them stand up weakly. Facing the thin and weak Su-yi, the giant ape's human form could not hide the fear and trembling on its face. Iron Fist said, "A human wants to see me. Is that you?" Su-yi raised his eyebrows and looked at the deep eyes opposite him. He thought to himself, sure enough, there was something special about this guy. At least, it was rare for a demon royal realm expert to have such temperament. It was just that his cultivation was too weak. "Yes, I am Su. Are you their boss?" Su-yi did not show any weakness and smiled faintly. "Yes, I am the desiring Snow Ape Demon King. Shuizhong, human, kneel down quickly." Shuizhong saw that Su-yi was not frightened by his aura, and a trace of panic gradually appeared on his face. He clenched his fists, and his palms kept sweating. Hearing this, Su-yi could not help but laugh in his heart. He was completely sure that all the white apes in front of him, including this demon royal realm expert, were not the real desiring snow apes. At that moment, Su-yi no longer had any scruples and activated the Supreme Origin technique. A majestic supreme aura spread out and scared Shuizhong, who was opposite him, until he took 3 steps back. His demonic aura rose, and he stabilized his body. Su-yi's body was surrounded by divine light, and the 4 attributes of earth, fire, wind, and water continued to spread in the tribe. The turbulent energy shook the space, and the roaring sound was endless. The apes on the side were stunned, and their nerves were numb, as if their souls were going to collapse at any time. "Don't come over. Human, stop right there." Shuizhong's giant eyes narrowed, and a fierce demon clan aura surged. Before it could get close to Su-yi, it was annihilated by the Origin Supreme technique. Stumbling, Shuizhong's footsteps became sluggish, and he slowly fell backwards, paralyzed on the ground. His majestic face suddenly became like a bird startled by the twang of a bow. The whole desiring snow tribe suddenly became extremely quiet. Iron Fist and Gray Hair saw this scene, and their eyes almost fell out. They could not help but show shock and horror in their hearts. Please remember the domain name of this book, .com, wonderful book mobile version website, .com. Chapter 1443. I am the heaven-desiring, snow ape great demon king. Human, how can you have such a domineering aura? What martial skill did you use? Ha! Shuizhong laughed awkwardly as he struggled to get up. His laughter, which did not match his tough face, spread throughout the entire heaven-desiring tribe. The atmosphere was so cold that one could hear a pin drop. 3 black lines appeared on Su Yi's face. This barbaric demonic beast had too much of a personality. Even Chi Ching of Azure Water City was more astute than him. He was simply a Chinibya youth who had not seen the world. They hadn't even fought. It was just a face-to-face encounter, and a 4th-grade demon emperor had fallen. This was really beyond Su Yi's expectation. Your mysterious aura seems to be stronger in this rich energy of heaven and earth. Ling Qianxue was in Su Yi's mind. She looked at the sparkling demon soul of heaven origin that was like a small sun. She held her cheeks and felt the rich energy of heaven and earth. What are you looking at? Get lost. All of you get lost. Shuizhong spoke awkwardly in human language. His nose twitched, and his heart was full of resentment. Looking at Su Yi, Shuizhong's face was extremely awkward. His face twitched, and it was extremely strange. He turned his head and roared at the group of apes behind him. Whoosh! Some of the cowardly white-haired apes were already sweating profusely. Their faces were full of horror. They silently turned their heads and bodies away, not daring to look at the miserable state of their leader. They jumped onto the branches with their backs facing the ground. Iron Fist and Gray Hair shivered. They hurriedly extended their long arms after hearing the earth-shaking roar. One after another, they flew into the depths of the forest. The roaring sound created a gust of wind, blowing Su Yi, Shuizhong, and the others' hair and robes in the air. At this time, Shuizhong's heart and soul had been suppressed by Su Yi. He struggled to stand up, but found that as soon as the demon aura rose, it would suddenly be annihilated. The two of them looked at each other. Shuizhong tried his best to get up, but to no avail. Large beads of sweat slowly flowed down, and his thick eyebrows were filled with anxiety and seriousness. Such a result made Shuizhong, who was the king of the mountain, feel the greatest crisis in his life. However, as a monster, Shuizhong could clearly sense whether the monster chi was real or not. Being silent for a long time, Shuizhong simply did not stand up. His 2-meter-tall body collapsed on grass. He did not care about his image at all. A trace of seriousness flashed in his eyes. You are not the sovereign of the demon race. After hearing Shuizhong's words, Su Yi's heart suddenly bloomed with joy. The White Ape clan seemed to be quite simple. From Iron Fist to Gray Hair, and then to Shuizhong in front of him. It was different from the usual savage beasts. Although Shuizhong had a huge body, its behavior and manner of speech were very simple, without a trace of viciousness. It was like an expert from a paradise, similar to the spirit ancient village. You are also not the heaven-desiring snow ape. Sui looked at Shuizhong with a smile. His eyes were like swords that could see through Shuizhong at any time. After listening to Su Yi's words, Shuizhong's eyes were like 2 balls of flames burning, and his blade-like cheeks flushed red with a swish. His legs had no strength, so Shuizhong used his hands to hit the ground. Pung, 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 sounds were heard, and countless cracks appeared on the ground. Who said I am not? I am the heaven-desiring, snow ape great demon king. Shuizhong was a little anxious. He shouted until his veins popped out. Looking at a tall and sturdy man in his 30s, Su Yi was a little amused. The Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang 2 Nether were also very curious. Yiming covered his mouth and laughed. This? Su Yi was a little embarrassed. He immediately comforted Shuizhong and said, Okay. You are the great demon king. Why don't you submit to me? I guarantee that you will have great benefits. When Shuizhong heard the word benefits, his eyes suddenly lit up. But when he thought of submitting to a hairy human, he hesitated for a moment and scratched his head. The little ones behind you are so much stronger than you. I admit that you do have your skills. But I, the heaven-desiring, snow ape great demon king, will not submit to anyone. Otherwise, how will Iron Fist and the others look at me? How will I lead them to conquer the 9 islands? Conquer? 9 islands? Su Yi's eyes lit up. Hearing Shuizhong's words, he was suddenly interested. Figuring out the situation here and obtaining the opportunity was the main purpose of his visit. Previously, he was interrupted by these monkeys in front of him. "Oomph, you humans are very cunning. The last 3 islands, those 3 old men are especially bad. They took our islands and sent us to this last broken island. I'm so angry." The more Shui Zhong spoke, the angrier he got. The sound of bones dislocating could be heard from his palms. His bulging muscles trembled, and he was filled with killing intent. But when Su Yi heard Shui Zhong mention the 3 old men, his bright and deep pupils shrank slightly. There was a kind of resistance and fear that came from the bottom of his heart. It seemed that the 3 people living on the human spirit island were the experts of the 9 Stars sect. The last one was undoubtedly the 9 Stars' old ancestor. Su Yi nodded slightly in his heart. The last island is where your heaven-desiring tribe gathers. What about the other islands? Shui Zhong turned half of his body and pointed at the 3 islands in the immortal vast sea of clouds with his mouth. According to those old men, the island that I was sent to is called Tianshu Island. Also, the Fox Lady, Daniyu, and the others live on Tianshan Island and Tianji Island, which are not far behind. Su Yi muttered to himself. It seemed that there were many secrets about this 9 Stars Calamity Sea. He immediately withdrew the primordial origin supreme technique, and the ancient pressure that filled the world disappeared. Shui Zhong turned over and got up from the ground. He patted the dust off his body, and the light in his eyes was dim. "Hey, kid, what is your purpose for coming here? I can see that you have the aura of my demon clan and are not as bad as those old men. That's why I told you so much. I know that I can't beat you, but if you really want to harm my heaven-desiring tribe, I swear that I will not let you go even if I die." Shui Zhong breathed heavily from the tip of his nose. A ray of light shot out, and his blood chi surged. The aura of the demon clan was turbulent. Of course, Su Yi would not tell him his real purpose for coming to the 9 Stars Calamity Sea. He glanced at him and changed the topic. "I am here to take revenge on that old man." Shui Zhong clenched his fists and looked at the Green Emperor and the others who were at the 9th level of the Demon Emperor realm. They were all experts of the demon clan. His eyes were filled with surprise. "You have a grudge against that old man?" Shui Zhong was very excited. His eyes moved slightly, and there was a trace of surprise. Su Yi hit the nail on the head and asked the reason. Shui Zhong's eyes were filled with depression and silence. Shui Zhong then told Su Yi that Daniyu was the descendant of the red deep divine cow, and the Fox Lady was the descendant of the 1,000-faced jade fox. The 3 of them originally occupied all the islands. The entire 9 Stars Calamity Sea was where their ancestors lived for generations. Chapter 1444. This place wasn't called the 9-Star Calamity Sea back then, and there wasn't so much spiritual energy in heaven and earth. One day when I was young, Daniyu, the Fox Girls, and I were playing outside. There was a huge explosion and the sky turned dark. I don't remember anything after that. Shui Zhong recounted softly. His eyes turned sharp as he recalled the terrifying scene back then. The mountains and rivers collapsed, the sky cracked, and the weather changed. It was still terrifying to this day. The entire 9-Star Calamity Sea was split into 9 pieces in the loud explosion. The sky collapsed and the earth collapsed. The entire land was split into 9 pieces of land with the most spiritual energy. Since then, the sea of clouds rumbled and the islands floated. That was how it became today. I only woke up after a long time. I realized that everything around me had changed. There were only Iron Fist and the rest, as well as the Fox and Daniyu's remains. There were only a few people left in each of their tribes. Later on, an old man entered the 9-Star Calamity Sea. Shui Zhong clenched his fists tightly as he spoke of the old man. His ferocious eyes sparkled as he sighed. Shui Zhong paused for a moment and proceeded to speak after calming himself down. "I don't know what the old man did. After he came, there was a star-like energy rising from heaven and earth on the 9 islands. It took the energy from heaven and earth here. Since then, the spiritual energy here has changed. The strange thing is that our cultivation base hasn't improved since then. Recently, We even felt that the demonic energy in our bodies has changed drastically with the stars in the sky. Our heads hurt. Shuizhong began to frown as he spoke. He kept knocking his head with his hands to keep himself awake. Can you tell me how the 9 islands were distributed before they came? Su Yi proceeded to ask. He had a bad feeling about this. Su Yi thought to himself. It seemed like the 9-star Calamity Valley's despicable deeds did not only take the 9 spirit lynx's demonic forest. They might have also taken the heaven and earth energy and gathering place that originally belonged to the protozoa. According to Shuizhong, the Thunder Seal Valley used to be a big demon tribe. The 9 spirit lynx's tribe was the largest, occupying the middle area while the rest of the smaller tribes were scattered around. For example, small tribes like the Desiring Snow Apes were instantly affected by the Great Immemorial Calamity. As a result, the entire Thunder Sealing Valley, including all of its spatial laws and topography, was affected. This 9 Stars Valley really isn't a good thing. They can't compete with our 9 Spirits Heavenly Cat Clan, so they've set their sights on other small tribes. I reckon that they must have found a special technique here and built the 9 Stars sect. Ling Xinxua looked at the 3 islands that towered into the clouds with disdain and resentment. What happened next? What's the matter with the 3 old men you mentioned? Su Yi muttered to himself as he frowned. Shuizhong then told Su Yi that the 9 islands were originally divided between himself and Scarlet Sky, Cow God Ox, the 1,000-faced Jade Fox, and himself. The 3 tribes lived on the last 3 islands. The 3 islands in the middle were used to grow some medicinal herbs and spirit herbs. Originally, they lived a very comfortable life. In the end, the 9-star old man, who was still a young man, suddenly came in with 2 other young men. Shuizhong recalled. In the beginning, they lied to us that they would only come in to cultivate for a while and would leave after a while in exchange for helping us clean the islands and plant the herbs. We let them cultivate here and didn't care about them. Anyway, they were low-level humans and couldn't cause too much trouble. When he said this, Shuizhong's eyes were filled with disdain. That was the first time humans came here. We thought that their strength wasn't high, so we didn't pay too much attention to them. But after a long time, they still didn't leave. One day, Old Cow and I went to ask them, but we found that they were quarreling. After that, the other 2 young men left. The 9-star old man suddenly became very powerful. Old Cow and I weren't his match. In the end, we were forced to give up the last 3 islands and sealed all our herbs and plants. We couldn't enter at all. Then why did 2 more people come to the last 3 islands? Su Yi asked. Shuizhong said, after the old man became strong, he often moved a lot of things here out. After a few decades, the old man didn't go out anymore. He hid in the last island and cultivated in seclusion. After that, 2 more experts came in. They were very powerful. Both of them were in the 4th level of Origin Ancestor Realm. We couldn't interfere. Now, he understood that the last 3 islands should be the people of the 9 Stars sect. Who were the first 2? Su Yi was very curious. Yes. So, your 3 tribes can only stay in the lower 3 islands. Su Yi said softly. Yes. I made an agreement with the Fox Girl and Big Cow. Since the spiritual energy in the lower 3 islands is about the same, we won't compete with each other anymore. Shuizhong's eyes were cold and deep. However, I know that I am the descendant of the heavenly snow ape. Even if I can't recreate the glory of the past, and am not as powerful as the snow ape ancestor, I can't let Iron Fist and the others follow me and disgrace the name of the heavenly snow ape. A cool breeze brushed past the hills, and the leaves in the forest rustled. His snow-white hair was messed up by the wind, and his snow-white and resolute face seemed to glow. The name of the heavenly snow ape. These few words were sonorous and powerful. Su Yi's heart couldn't help but tremble. His mind was suddenly hit. He didn't expect that the silly Shuizhong would be so bright when talking about the clan's mission. I will help you get back what you want. It's up to you whether you want to submit or not. How about it? Shuizhong grabbed Su Yi's hands and locked Su Yi like an iron clamp. His heart was full of excitement, but he immediately hesitated. Really? The old men are really strong, especially the last old man. I guess he is invincible now. Can you really do it? Shuizhong was slightly worried. Sui smiled and looked at Shuizhong, who was much taller than him. His face was full of expectation as he said softly, "Okay, don't worry. If you can recover to the level of our ancestor in the future, remember our promise." Then, Shuizhong and Su Yi made an oath. Looking at the rolling sea of clouds, Su Yi's eyes were serious. "Shuizhong, bring me to see the red pheasant cow and the thousand-faced jade fox." "Okay, they are behind. I will bring you to see them. If you need anything, just tell the three of us." Then, Shuizhong led Su Yi and the others to the heavenly jade island in a few moments. As soon as they arrived on the island, Shuizhong roared and said in shock, "Zhuo, come out." The monstrous power mixed with the noise of the demonic qi was like a wave that spread into the depths of the forest. It whistled through the sky and swept in all directions. He saw a woman in her 30s with a pair of seductive eyes. She was wearing bright red makeup. She looked delicate and charming as she walked over leisurely. Her tight blouse outlined her exquisite and curvaceous figure, causing people to be moved. Shuizhong acted as if he didn't see her. He frowned and said hurriedly, "Why are you so slow?" Chapter 1445. Shuizhong, what are you shouting for? A charming woman named Zhuo walked out of the Jade Fox Palace. She had an enchanting figure and a graceful bearing. Her cultivation was at the LV3 Demon Royal Realm. A fragrant scent drifted in the air. Staring at Su Yi and the Green Emperor behind her, her eyes were filled with anger. "What do you mean? Why did you bring humans in? Do you think we're not miserable enough?" Zhuo crossed her arms and raised her eyebrows. Suddenly, a demonic aura appeared. The aura of the entire Jade Fox tribe became very dense, causing people to fall into an illusion. Su Yi immediately operated the primordial origin supreme technique with all his strength. Under the shocked gazes of Zhuo, Shuizhong, and the others, a fiery red primordial qi radiance operated and immediately spread out like clouds in the void, and an invisible pressure rose in the sky. Zhuo's expression changed slightly. She took a closer look and saw that the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang twins were at the 9th level Demon Monarch stage. However, the young man in front of her was only at the 9th level Origin Void stage, but he seemed to be her underling. Shuizhong raised his eyebrows and waved his hand. He said solemnly, "You don't understand. Ask your men to call Dainyu over. We have something important to discuss." Seeing Shuizhong's solemn expression, Zhuo did not say anything. A purplish-red, demonic aura soared into the sky. She waved her hand in the direction of the palace behind her and shouted. Immediately, a purplish-red mist floated into the distance. "Zhuoqing, ask God Qi Gue and Nyoing Wu to come over." Zhuo's eyes lit up. She stepped forward and stood next to Shuizhong. She nodded lightly. Zhuo looked at Shuizhong nervously. She held his hand and asked softly, "Shuizhong, did they do anything to you?" Bang! Shuizhong pushed Zhuo's hand away and said with a smirk, No, they're fine. Let's go in. Time is of the essence." Zhuo pursed her lips and looked at Su Yi, the Green Emperor, and the others behind her. She said, "Follow me." She led Shuizhong and the others into the Jade Fox tribe. As soon as they entered the Jade Fox tribe, a bewitching aura surged toward them. "Why is there still a smell here? It's killing me." Zhuo's jade-like eyelashes lifted slightly, and her temperament instantly became languid. She said softly, "You still know the smell here? How long has it been since you last came?" Shuizhong immediately raised his eyebrows and paced back and forth in the Jade Fox Palace, looking very uncomfortable. "I have something important to do. I'm Great Demon King, desiring Heaven Snow Ape. I don't have the time to come to your little fox cave every day." Zhuo shouted. Su Yi, the Azure Emperor, and the others glanced at each other as they silently retreated. Zhuo said, "That's right. You're the only one who wants to do big things. We women deserve to be alone with no one to accompany us." After saying this, Zhuo began to turn her back. Her exquisite figure twitched slightly in the candlelight of Hunan. She was about to cry, and, from time to time, she used her soft hand to wipe her ear. Seeing this scene, Shuizhong immediately blushed. He scratched the back of his head and looked at Su Yi, indicating what he should do. Cough, cough. Su Yi pretended to cough and also turned his back without saying anything. Sigh. Shuizhong sighed heavily. He had no way to deal with a woman like Zhuo. He could only go over gently and use his iron palm to pat Zhuo's shoulder. Go away. If you say this again, don't come here. Zhuo pushed Shuizhong's hand away and pretended to continue crying. Crystal clear tears suddenly gushed out like a spring. Looking at the two of them talking in front of him, Su Yi couldn't help but smile. His ears seemed to explode as he said to Ling Qianxue in his heart, Qianxue, you're still the best. You don't quarrel. You don't hang yourself. Ling Qianxue snorted softly and said, What nonsense are you talking about? I won't be like her. Besides, why should I cry for you? After saying that, Ling Qianxue began to refine the 9-spirit blood essence and recover her soul without saying a word. Su Yi didn't look inside. If he saw, Ling Qianxue's neck would have long been covered by the flying clouds. Su Yi's starry eyes showed a little light. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly and said helplessly, I'm just saying it casually. Bang! Accompanied by a domineering aura, a man in his 30s swiftly walked into the palace. He was like a ball of flowing fire, and the surrounding air started to heat up. Su Yi squinted his eyes. The person who came was actually a burly man. His face was scarlet red, and his eyes were like copper rings. It seemed like he was the descendant of the scarlet divine cow that they had mentioned, Ying Wu. Ha ha, Zhuo. If Shuizhong doesn't come, I'm fine. I can come often. His voice, which was as loud and clear as a bell, was like a vast aura that swept through the entire Jade Fox Palace. At that moment, Zhuo and Shuizhong turned around at the same time. Their gazes twitched fiercely. You're also at the 4th level? Shuizhong's eyes were slightly dignified. Although Ying Wu was not as tall as Shuizhong, his cultivation at the 4th level of the Demon Royal Realm was not inferior at all. His aura was also very fierce. His fierce eyes were slightly cold as he stared at Shuizhong and said, Why? You're allowed to reach the 4th level, but I can't? As he spoke, he was about to attack. Suddenly, the two of them shouted at the same time. Their figures soared into the sky, and their feet stepped forward. The demonic chi in their bodies erupted at the same time. It was like a flood that had opened the floodgates, and it rushed out madly, rushing for 1,000 miles. Don't fight. Zhuo shouted in a delicate voice. The two of them each carried a terrifying power. How could Zhuo's voice be heard? Boom! Suddenly, the void vibrated and the air roared. There was a faint sound of wind and thunder behind them. A thick and fierce aura that seemed to have crossed 10,000 years of heaven and earth surged out like a wave. It spread out with a great pressure and washed away the demonic aura of the two of them. Swish! The two were just about to attack, suddenly had a terrifying light shoot out from their eyes. Behind them, Su Yi stood straight with his hands clasped behind his back. Divine light rippled around his body. White and red yuan qi filled the air, covering the sky and covering the earth, causing people's souls to tremble. Su Yi's aura was unparalleled and powerful. This guy is so powerful. Zhuo and Ying Wu's eyes were shining. The terrifying pressure was like the suppression of their souls. It made them tremble uncontrollably and want to crawl. Su Yi put it away. Shuizhong waved his hand and instantly withdrew his demonic aura. He was not going to attack again. Whoosh! The next moment, Su Yi's slightly closed eyes suddenly opened. An extraordinary aura rose in his body. When a vital qi was withdrawn, the pressure gradually disappeared. In the blink of an eye, the energy that had just filled the sky poured over them. Their faces were as pale as paper. This was the suppression of an extremely terrifying power. Zhuo and Ying Wu began to take Su Yi seriously. Chapter 1446. Su Yi's imposing manner gradually faded, and he returned to his original appearance, accompanied by the dissipation of the monstrous aura. Zhuo and Ying Wu's eyes moved, and they walked to Shui Zhong's side. The two of them were silent, and they looked at Su Yi together, their eyes full of doubts. The aura that had just erupted was exactly the same as the aura of the Supreme Master of the Demon Clan, but it only appeared on the body of a teenager of the Origin Void Realm. Zhuo and Ying Wu's souls were still in trance. Shui Zhong whispered to the two of them, and briefly told them the purpose of Su Yi's visit. The two of them emitted a blazing flame in their eyes, and it took them a long time to recover. "Can you really help us take revenge?" Ying Wu still had some doubts. "You can try." The Green Emperor's long and narrow eyes suddenly shone with a blue light, and the sound of a dragon's roar reverberated in the void, causing his pupils to shrink in horror. Ying Wu's reaction was quick, and he retreated in a panic. He watched the sound of golden spears, the splashing of flames, and the spreading of the demon aura. Sand and stones were flying everywhere, and dust filled the sky. He was silent. "But the three old men are very, very strong." Zhuo sighed, and her eyes rippled with disappointment. She especially emphasized the last two words, as if it was an undefeatable legend. Suddenly, a sharp cold light flashed. Su Yi's sword-like eyebrows slightly slanted. He knew that although the three experts had reached the demon royal realm, they had never left this small world. They only faced the three 9-star experts and lived in their shadows all year round. After a long time, naturally, their faces would turn bitter at the mention of the old men. Immediately, Su Yi's face was calm and peaceful, and he said to the three of them seriously, "They are very strong, but as long as they are human, there is nothing that they cannot defeat. You are all descendants of the ancient great demon, and in comparison, you are the superior existence." When Zhuo and Ying Wu heard this, their eyes were full of splendor, and suddenly a glimmer of light flashed across. Shui Zhong's body stiffened, and his expression was slightly moved under the dim yellow light, as if he had not heard such words for a long time. Every word was deafening, and he looked at Su Yi with shining eyes. "Good. What do you want us to do?" Taking a deep breath, Shui Zhong clenched his fists and asked fearlessly. Su Yi's lips curled slightly as he said slowly to the three of them, "I heard that a star badge is required to meet the Patriarch." Hearing the star command, the three of them had an incredulous look in their eyes. Ying Wu said, "The three old men are now living in seclusion and rarely show themselves to others. Last time, the three of us went to make a ruckus in front of their door, but no one paid any attention to us. However, every once in a while, Alcade Island will come and ask us to go to the three islands in the middle to take care of the medicinal fields and give us some medicinal herbs." After Zhuo finished listening, she saw that Su Yi was obviously thinking about something. She was slightly moved and said softly, "I saw that they used the star medallion every time. The star medallion seems to be related to the martial skills they cultivated. They also relied on the star medallion to seal the middle three islands." Su Yi pondered in his heart. It seemed that the reason why the three great demons were left here was because there were few people in the 9 Stars Calamity Sea. The treasures of the three islands in the middle needed to be taken care of, so they were left here. Everything here was related to the power of the stars. The star medallion, as a secret treasure of the sect, was passed down to the 9 Stars Valley by the Patriarch as a communication tool between the sects. Who knew that Chen Yao and Nan Gonghang's scheme would allow him to easily obtain 9 star medallions? The 9 Stars Patriarch probably didn't expect that his descendants would not hesitate to use the star medallion as a wager for small profits. Su Yi couldn't help but sigh. If the star medallion could be used smoothly, in other words, as long as he had the star medallion, he could open the seal on the middle three islands and lure out one of the 9 Stars Masters. But where can we find the star medallion? Shui Zhong scratched the back of his head, looking a little nervous. The star medallion had always been in the hands of the old man, so he couldn't resolve the power of the stars. After listening to Shui Zhong's words, Su Yi's eyes were dazzling with red light. His eyes were firm, and there was a proud and evil aura between his eyebrows. "How many pieces do you need?" Su Yi smiled at Shui Zhong, as if he had a card up his sleeve. Shui Zhong paused, thought for a moment, and said in a muffled voice, "I need one for each island, but in case of a mistake, I need at least 4. Shui Zhong's eyes dimmed as he stared at Su Yi. To him, obtaining a single star token was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. How could he obtain 4 star tokens? The 3 demon royal realm experts furrowed their brows tighter and tighter. They felt that much of their ambition had been extinguished. Their faces were solemn. "Take it." Su Yi directly threw a space bag to Shui Zhong. The 3 demon royal realm experts released their demon aura and opened the space bag without a seal. They were stunned. "How is it? Is it enough?" Su Yi's heart was burning. Looking at the 3 demon royal realm experts, a sense of heroism arose. "It's enough." Looking at the 9 star medallions in the space bag, the 3 demon royal realm experts were overjoyed. Su Yi immediately explained his plan to the 3 demon royal realm experts. "Each of you take 3 star medallions and choose an island in the middle 3 islands. Use the star medallions to attack from 3 directions. One of the experts will come. I will lend you the Green Emperor behind me, and we will deal with it together. I will take care of the rest." After listening to Su Yi's plan, Shui Zhong and Ying Wu were filled with longing for the upcoming change. Their eyes were burning with fire. They had been waiting for this moment for too long. Finally, they could kill and take back everything that belonged to them. "What are your conditions?" Zhuo pursed her lips. Facing a 9 star great ancestor alone was an extremely terrifying existence. Su Yi would not take such a risk for her. "As I said before, submit to me and I will give you great benefits. If you don't submit, I will take half of the resources of the middle 3 islands. Other than that, I have no other request." The middle 3 islands mainly had medicinal herbs and natural treasures. Half of them could grow again. However, this was a rare opportunity for revenge. The 3 demon royal realm experts discussed and thought. Shui Zhong said to Zhuo and pointed at the Green Emperor and the others behind him. Zhuo and Ying Wu were shocked. It seems that although the 3 of them are simple, they are much smarter than the spirit-devouring emperor, who is good at scheming. Su Yi smiled. Bang, bang, bang. After a long while, Shui Zhong walked with heavy steps. His eyes were full of determination as he looked at Su Yi. "Su Yi, I can give you half of my resources. However, we are the descendants of greater demons, and we have our own principles. We still need to think about it. If the benefits can really help us improve greatly, then after this matter is over, we will naturally submit to you and help you fulfill your ambitions. We also hope that you can help us, the Howling Firmament." Shui Zhong's eyes were full of courage. His voice was sonorous and powerful. Chapter 1447. After listening to Shui Zhong's words, Su Yi's eyes glowed red. It was as if his blood was boiling, and a surge of anger shot up into the sky. The 9 Star Valley had always been robbing others. If he could take all of the 9 Star Valley's resources, his Boang sect could truly become a first-rate force in the Chaos region, even if it was still incomparable to the Saint Mountain. One day, he would be able to compete with the Saint Mountain. The Saint Mountain has tens of thousands of years of resources, and the Calamity Sea has tens of thousands of years of resources as well. I'll surpass you one day if I take all of them. Just you wait. This time, the long-lost passion in Su Yi's heart bloomed like fireworks. The Origin Supreme technique surged, and a surge of ancient energy filled the air and surged to the sky like a wave. The grudges in the 9 Star Valley involved too many things. Nangong Hang, Chun Yao, Tang Wang's beliefs, and the 9 Spirit Lynx's long-cherished wish would all be settled in one go. He wanted to overturn the 9 Star Calamity Sea. Su Yi carefully calculated the combat power of his side. Shui Zhong had 3 LV, 4 Demon Royal Realm powerhouses, and they could be used to deal with one of the powerhouses. At the same time, he could leave dozens or even more of his subordinates behind to take the opportunity to move the resources of the middle three islands. On the other hand, the three LV9 Demon Royal Realm powerhouses on his side had the ability of a LV1 Demon Grandmaster. They would follow him to deal with the 9-star Grand Ancestor. Su-Yi looked inwardly at the mysterious ball of light within his body that was emitting a lustrous luster, as well as the throbbing primordial supreme technique. Su-Yi knew in his heart that it wasn't impossible for him to fight. He had already created so many possibilities. This time, he would still stir up the winds and clouds. Have you seen the three old men? Know yourself and know your enemy, and you'll win every battle. Su-Yi asked Shui Zhong carefully about the three powerhouses. Shui Zhong nodded his head slightly and said softly, "Yes, the most powerful old man was only at the 4th level of Origin Ancestor stage when he first arrived. I heard from the two people who came later that they were the previous sect leader and the Supreme Elder. One of them was at the 3rd level of Origin Ancestor stage, while the other was at the 4th level of Origin Ancestor stage." Su-Yi muttered to himself. So the three powerhouses were actually the Supreme Elder and the previous sect leader. After so many years, their cultivation should have improved again. They should be at least at the 4th to 5th level of the Origin Ancestor realm. As for the 9-star Grand Ancestor who had been quiet for a long time, he was at least at LV7 Origin Ancestor. The only feasible way was to split into 3 groups. Shui Zhong and the others would face the sect master, who had the lowest cultivation base. Elder Tang Wang would hold back the Grand Elder, and he would go directly to the 9 stars Grand Elder. Ingwu, send your subordinates to the entrance of the Sea of Calamity and invite him to delay the previous sect master on Zero Clarity Island. All right. Shui Zhong and Ingwu nodded slightly. After knowing Su-Yi's plan, Shui Zhong's demonic aura rose from his feet. He turned into a ball of white light and returned to his Tianshu Island with the Green Emperor to make preparations. As soon as he finished speaking, Ingwu and Zhuo bowed to Su-Yi and left. Are you confident? Ling Qinshua asked softly in the Heaven Origin Demon Soul. She knew Su-Yi was ready for a fierce battle, but she was still worried. We've already made it through Ling Lanin. Why should we be afraid of the 9-star Grand Ancestor? I want to see his face as a bandit. Su-Yi's lips curled into a smile as he slowly walked out of the Jade Fox Palace with the Yin-Yang twins. The air circulation in the sky changed rapidly. The sun rose and the golden light danced. The clouds shone in the sky like divine light. Su-Yi looked at the vast sea of clouds and felt that the sea of clouds was deep. He couldn't help but be filled with pride. After the dance, the cloud dragon and the sea of clouds fade. The fiery trees and silver flowers fight for the glory of the sunset. The sea of clouds floated in his chest with no place to return. It was like Su-Yi's heart. Ing Wuxiu once said that the difference between knowing and not knowing was just a moment. The difference between doing and not doing was just a fine line. Whether one was a god or a demon, it was best to stay true to one's heart. Since that was the case, why not give it a try? Who cares what the 9-star Grand Ancestor is capable of? I, Su-Yi, want to compete with the heavens. The Yin-Yang Ming duo looked at Su-Yi's back and laughed wildly. Master, we're all here. We'll go with you. All right. Su-Yi laughed and closed his eyes to feel the energy of heaven and earth. He was making the final preparations. After a while, Zhuo walked out from behind him. She looked determined, and she bowed slightly to Su-Yi. Master Su, Shui Zhong, and Ingwu sent a message. Everything is ready. We can go now. At the end of the sea of clouds, golden light shone. The layers of clouds were dyed with golden light. It was like a burning flame rising at the end of the sea and the sky. All right, let's go. Su-Yi formed a hand seal, and the red light around his body surged. Yuan Qi was constantly expelled from the pores on the surface of his body. The vast and surging ancient aura was like a soaring dragon that shook the sky. Su-Yi's slightly closed eyes quietly opened, and a ray of cold light flashed past. Boom! Roar! The yin-yang Ming duo turned back into their golden bodies. The faint dragon roar spread out in the sky. The dragon scales opened and shone with a faint golden light. Two black and white lights intertwined in the void and swallowed each other. They flew deeper into the sea of clouds. The ripples in the surrounding void were distorted, and a terrifying energy vortex spread out in all directions as the yin-yang two nether spun in the void. So powerful, a black and white light circle appeared in Juoro's eyes. It was as if the entire space was about to collapse with her body. This world is about to be overturned. Shuizhong, Yingwu, we have to work hard too. Her eyes were full of splendor. At this moment, all her vigilance and suspicion turned into pride and longing. Hearing the dragon roar that was getting farther and farther away, Juoro's body started to sway. She transformed in her jade fox body. Its snow-white and translucent fur danced in the wind. The vast ground of the jade fox tribe started to crack. The sea of clouds became more turbulent. Roar! A roar sounded. It was the signal to enter the upper three islands. Then, the roars of the beasts on the various islands continued. The terrifying beast tide started to spread. With a loud shout, the thousand-faced jade fox spread out its imposing aura. Behind it, there were dozens of small foxes that were dozens of feet long. Let's go. In the blink of an eye, the Heavenly Pivot Island, Heavenly Jade Island, and Fecta Island savage beasts soared into the sky. Their silhouettes soared into the sky like lightning bolts. The white giant ape, the scarlet bottomless celestial ox, and the thousand-faced jade fox's silhouettes soared into the sky, shattering the void. Waves of roars pierced through the sky. The densely packed figures covered the sky. This ancient world started to turn gloomy. Hundreds of ancient demons had a common enemy. They shook the mountains and rivers. Their auras gathered together like rivers flowing to the sea. They came from all directions. Roar! Swoosh, swoosh! The beasts roared like thunder. It was terrifying. The roars came one after another. Countless voices moved together. The mountains and rivers were filled with huge, savage beasts. Charge! Go! And take over the middle three islands. Old men, we're here. Chapter 1448. Shadows of beasts filled the entire sky. The roars of beasts could be heard from the three islands as they charged towards Migres, Alioth, and Mizar Island. The densely packed figures were getting closer and closer. With the three islands as the center, they surrounded them in a circular formation. Layers upon layers of beasts filled the sky. Old man, this time I'll definitely take you down. Charge! Men of the Heavenly Desire clan. Shuizhong charged towards Migres Island with all his might. His body was covered in white light, and the light was dazzling on the green island. His chiseled face was filled with determination. Swoosh! Countless shadows of beasts rushed out like lightning, piercing through the clouds and splitting rocks. Little ones, open up Alioth Island with me. If we snatch it, it's all yours. Yingwu stood tall and straight. His roar shook the universe like thunder. With a resolute face, he led the way for the divine Ox clan. His eyes were sharp, like a blood-red sun hanging in the sky. The divine Ox clan was covered in light. They opened their bloody mouths in the sky, looking ferocious with a hint of majesty. Sisters, fight to the death with this old man. Let the thousand-faced jade fox reappear. On the other side, Juoro's demonic aura spread out. Her eyes were deep and beautiful like fire. She stared at Mizar Island, vowing to turn the world upside down. In an instant, roars shook the sky. The ripples in the air were violently knocked away. A large number of foxes and white apes rose into the sky, covering the sky above the void. Their ferocious aura spread out along with the power of the big ancient demons. Pairs of hungry and resentful eyes were released to the greatest extent at this moment. Dim light filled the air. On the plank road in the sky, Tang Wang, who had just been informed of Su Yi's plan by Iron Fist, was sitting cross-legged. He was meditating and adjusting his breath. He was still struggling in his heart. Sect leader, Grand Elder, is all of this real? Tang Wang's slightly yellow eyes were filled with nervousness. At this moment, hundreds of huge figures appear at the same time. Some demonic aura spread out. Tang Wang, who was startled by the monstrous commotion, slowly stood up. His robes fluttered in the wind. The plank walkway was thousands of feet long and empty. Tang Wang Linfeng could feel the violent aura of the impending battle, and his aura surged like a spring. It was as if a demon god had awoken, and the heavens and earth were about to collapse. The ferocious barbaric demonic beasts caused the entire world to become incomparably gloomy. The sea of clouds surged, and the astral winds howled. In the quiet world, the north wind was blowing. Is it the heavens that betrayed me? Or am I the one that betrayed the heavens? A lofty feeling that had been dormant in Tang Wang's heart for many years erupted like a volcano. His inner roar shook the heavens, his hair fluttered, and his eyes were filled with indignation. He absolutely did not believe that the Grand Supreme Elder whom he worshipped as a god, the previous sect master, was a scoundrel. He absolutely did not believe that the Nine Stars sect, which he had always respected like a candle, was a despicable sect. He would never believe it. He wanted to prove that what he had persisted in was right. Boom! In the clear sky, a ray of starlight shot out from Tang Wang's eyes. His aura filled the air, and a vigorous aura spread across the sky. If I'm wrong, I'm willing to sacrifice myself to the heavens and earth and repay the Nine Stars with my life. Tang Wang smiled slightly, and with a murderous aura, his body gradually rose into the sky. Vitality gradually rose under his feet, and countless rays of starlight surged around his body. The cold light was extremely captivating. The void rumbled, and the wind and clouds surged. Large patches of dark clouds gradually gathered to open the sky. Lightning flashed, thunder rumbled, and stars flickered. Countless sparkling and translucent light patterns surged on Tang Wang's body, and radiance filled the air. Whoosh! Suddenly, Tang Wang's body was surrounded by stars, and he was incomparably bright like a meteorite. His eyes flickered as if they could penetrate the void. Gradually, his aura became sharper, like a sharp sword hanging in the air. Tang Wang, who was surrounded by the starlight, was like a divine weapon piercing through the sky, stirring up boundless space ripples, and flew straight to Zero Clarity Island at a rapid speed. If you're wrong, I'll live and die with you. Tang Wang, who was in the midst of the surging light, smiled indifferently. His old face was finally relieved at that moment. Looking at Tang Wang, who was flying rapidly, Situ Myong and Shi Susu, who were at the entrance of the Calamity Sea, were full of worry and anxiety. No, youngest martial uncle heard from the white ape that he went to face a 9-star old ancestor alone. That's terrible. And Elder Tang, I think he's in an unusual state. Sister Shi, you have to think of something. Situ Myong looked nervous. Looking at the 9-star Calamity Sea, Situ Myong faintly had a bad sense of crisis. Shi Susu, who was also worried, also frowned and pursed her lips. Even though the two of them had just recovered from their injuries, their cultivation was too low, and they could not help Su Yi in any way. Since they had come in, how could they just sit and wait for death? Pacing back and forth, her hands were constantly clenched, and her palms were gradually covered with sweat. Then, Shi Susu made a prompt decision. Even if someone takes the opportunity to seize the opportunity, I can't care about it. I can't let Su Yi be in any danger. Muyong, you stay here and look after him. I'll go invite Elder Xian Shuang and the other elders in. Before she finished speaking, just as Situ Muyong was about to reply, he saw Shi Susu's beautiful figure drifting in the wind. Like a phantom, she left the 9-star Calamity Sea. Hey, youngest martial uncle, you must hold on. The figures of the beast tide that filled the sky were faintly discernible in the sea of clouds. Situ Muyang once again thought of the scene at the Myriad Sword Conference. At that time, Su Yi was still the target of his pursuit. Now, he could only watch from afar as Su Yi cut through the waves and stirred up the winds and clouds. Youngest martial uncle, one day there will be a place for me by your side again. Situ Muyang clenched his fists and his chi burst out. In an instant, his eyes surged with extraordinary splendor. At this time, Su Yi and the Yin-Yang Two Nether were running in the sky above hidden Yuan Island. Standing on the head of the Yang Nether beast, Su Yi's eyes were slightly gloomy. Behind him, the roars continued, but there was only a dazzling light in Su Yi's eyes, like flashing lightning, as if a young god of war had descended to the world. His white robe fluttered in the wind, and his long black hair danced like a waterfall. His aura was inexplicable, as if it carried the fury of thunder. "Are you afraid?" Su Yi smiled slightly, and his heart was full of calmness and peace. The pneuma energy emitted by the Origin Supreme technique swept out from under Su Yi's feet like waves. Oh, black and white light surged around the Yin-Yang Two Nether, accompanied by a majestic and overbearing aura. Two flood dragons about 100 feet long moved rapidly in the sky. "Don't be afraid. Master, the people of the Bawang sect will never give up, and we will fight." A cold light flashed in Yang Ming's eyes, and the dragon scales all over his body opened, glowing with a faint light and sharp as hooks. After various experiences in the Demon Chi Forest, Yang Ming also had a new understanding of Su Yi and the Bawang sect. This was a feeling that he couldn't feel as a savage beast before. Su Yi's eyes surged, and he smiled slightly. His 5 fingers clenched into a fist, and he shook his arm, fully exerting the Origin Supreme technique. The closer he got to hidden Yuan Island, the brighter the mysterious light in his body. Well, let's just treat it as an exercise in advance to flatten the sacred mountain. Su Yi's body emitted a terrifying pneuma energy like an erupting volcano, covering the entire island in front of him as he advanced rapidly. Chapter 1449. The sea of clouds rose and fell, and the shadows of the beasts swayed. The roars of the beasts all over the mountains shattered the entire void. The sound of the restrictions being opened constantly resounded in the 3 middle islands. The roars that broke through the sky were left far behind by the mountains. Roar! It was noisy and jubilant all around. Boom! The demonic aura that pierced through the clouds and cracked the rocks, illuminating the white clouds with a myriad of colors. It was dazzling, like rainbows crossing the clouds, surging violently, majestic and magnificent. On the hidden Yuan Island, among the ink-blue mountains, the white mist-like immortal aura rose. Spiritual birds and beasts wandered freely in the forest. It was a peaceful scene. The mountains were green, the birds were chirping, and the sunset was shining. It was like a fairyland, rising in spirals. The flying clouds and waterfalls were like the Milky Way hanging upside down between the quiet mountains. The huge white waves were shining brightly under the sky. Chirp! A flying eagle barbarian demon beast, standing high on the branches of an ancient green tree, suddenly glanced back. Its vigilant, fierce eyes looked into the distance, and a trace of uneasiness flashed. Swoosh! In the distance, 2 black and white halos surged in the air. The monstrous demonic aura was like a mass of dark clouds with energy that crossed the immemorial times. The eagle quickly shook its feathers that were shining brightly under the sun. Its huge wings moved without any wind. With a flap of its wings, it flew high into the sky and flew towards the depths of the hidden Yuan Island. On the hidden Yuan Island, the terrain was high, and the vegetation was lush. An independent hidden Yuan palace appeared impressively. It was majestic and magnificent, revealing the vicissitudes of time. There was a long white jade staircase from the foot of the mountain to the hidden Yuan palace. The mottled cracks and dense moss showed that no one had been here for many years. Ding ding! At this time, a thin and tall figure with a straight body and firm footsteps walked on a long staircase. The aura around his body was surging, and the divine light was shining. Accompanied by the spreading of the monstrous aura, the clear sound of wind and thunder came from the young man's aura. It was like the awakening of an overlord and the arrival of an emperor. Such a majestic pressure spread between heaven and earth, driving the barbaric beasts in the depths of hidden Yuan Island far away. The young man's face was like jade, and his eyes were like bright stars. A maturity that didn't belong to his age was outlined on his face, and the space between his brows was filled with calmness and nature. Each step created a mirage, and each movement created a universe. As they got closer to Hidden Origin Hall, the clothes on the back of the young man gradually swelled up and fluttered in the wind. His black hair fluttered like a waterfall. Behind him, there was a man and a woman who were both seductive and charming. The man was incomparably handsome, emitting an oppressive aura amidst his gentleness. The woman was enchanting and charming, still possessing an aura amidst her charm. Black and white demonic auras swirled around the young man, making him look like a deity. The young man was Su-Yi, who had come to fight to the death. Su-Yi raised his head, and a dazzling ray of sunlight shone down. Su-Yi narrowed his starry eyes and said faintly, "We're finally here." Hidden Yuan Island was one of the islands in the Calamity Sea with the most abundant heaven and earth energy. It was different from Shuizhong and the others who had been living here. As soon as he stepped on the land of Hidden Yuan Island, the heaven and earth energy that was like the mountains and seas overturned Su-Yi's body. Su-Yi simply operated the Origin Supreme technique to the extreme. The great void sea in his body opened up like an absorbing whirlpool, resisting the heaven and earth energy. Like a sponge, it continuously absorbed the heaven and earth energy. In the wide meridians, the heaven and earth energy surged as if it had a spirit. It's really magical. The heaven and earth energy that had been consumed in the great void sea is quickly recovering. What about you guys? Are you not used to it? The yin-yang two nether laughed softly and said, "It's abundant. This is really a good place to cultivate." As soon as they finished speaking, their bodies were faintly suffused with golden light. The light surged as if they were possessed by a golden dragon. The aura of the golden dragon and the heaven and earth energy merged together. Su-Yi frowned. Facing the tall and simple Hidden Yuan Hall in front of him, he suddenly stomped his foot. Then an unparalleled strong wind rose, and sand and stones were constantly stirred up. The space rippled like ripples and went straight to Hidden Yuan Hall. "Go in." Immediately, Su-Yi stomped his feet, and heaven and earth energy surged under his feet. His body soared into the air like a ball of fire and flew to the door of the hall. The beast heads on the door were vivid and lifelike, and their fierce eyes shone with a terrifying light. The white light of the Origin Supreme technique shot out from Su-Yi's hand like a waterfall and hit the beast ring door of Hidden Yuan Hall heavily. Bang! After the heavy hit, ripples appeared on the beast ring door, and it returned to calm. The huge muffled sound made the surrounding beast souls tremble, and they were suppressed for no reason. No reaction? Su-Yi frowned slightly. The door of Hidden Yuan Hall was tightly shut, and the Origin Supreme technique had no effect. "Master, let's try." The yin-yang two nether asked Su-Yi to take a step back. Then boundless demon Qi rose from the yin-yang two nether, and their figures continued to grow. The black and white demon Qi merged together, and a monstrous aura of the demon Grandmaster realm spread out. Su-Yi was full of admiration. In a short period of time in the Calamity Sea, the yin-yang two nether had made great progress. Although they had not broken through, their combined demon Qi was much stronger than before. "Open!" The yin-yang two nether shouted at the same time. The mighty power that could move mountains and rivers was accompanied by an incomparably strange demon Qi, and it was like an illusory flood dragon. The dragon's roar shook the sky, and the unparalleled strength directly overturned the surrounding soft ground, and cracks spread out like a baby's arm. Roar! Everything happened too quickly. He could only see that within the ball of light, the shadow of the Jiao dragon kept appearing. Its fierce eyes were filled with golden light, and the scales around it stood up as it glared angrily. Bang! The muffled sound that was even more terrifying than before shook the world. The entire void trembled, and the boundless wave of demon beasts was like ripples, spreading out with hidden Origin Hall as the center. The eyes on the beast's head on the door suddenly shone with bright starlight. When the powerful demon Qi touched the door, it only left a shallow crack, and then it quickly disappeared. The yin-yang, two nethers figures slowly descended, and they slightly retracted their demon Qi. Looking at the shallow crack on the door, they were slightly stunned. The attack just now was the most powerful attack of the two of them combined. It has the power of a LV2 Demon Grandmaster realm, but it only left a shallow crack. Yinming said in a low voice, "Isn't this restriction a little too powerful? If we want to completely open the door, I don't know how much demon Qi is needed." He muttered to himself, "This door is indeed a little strange." The light from the beast's head just now seemed to be able to devour energy. Could the mechanism be here? He immediately signaled the yin-yang 2 nether to step back. It seemed that it was impossible to break the door with his own strength. Zong! There was a loud tremor, and the wind and thunder clashed. The simple white jade stone stairs began to crack, as if it was directly impacted by an ancient energy. Chapter 1450. In Su Yi's hand, a ball of light bloomed from his hand. It was like a dragon soaring into the sky, and the wind howled. A large saber with purple and gold patterns appeared. It was the sacred weapon, the heavenly star essence. "If you can't break it, I'll kill you." Su Yi's lips curled into a smile. The light was so bright that nothing could be seen. The heavenly star essence reappeared in the world. As soon as it was taken out, it was like an ancient dragon's roar. It trembled slightly, as if it came from the ancient world. The large saber that was purple and gold was engraved with star patterns that looked like the movement of the stars. When the yin-yang 2 nether saw the sacred weapon in Su Yi's hand, they couldn't help but take half a step back. Their faces were full of surprise as they murmured, "The sacred weapon has a spirit. It seems to be moving." Su Yi was even more confused. After the sacred weapon was taken out, it immediately released a bright starlight. The stars on the saber moved, illuminating the entire void. It was as if the void was falling. Su Yi was slightly moved. As expected, when Su Yi got the star token, he felt that the star token was similar to the heavenly star essence. Could there be such a coincidence? The sacred weapon was like a living thing, floating in the air. Its sacred aura seemed to pass through the heavens and the earth. The sword god shone brightly and stood upright on Su Yi's palm. Buzz, buzz! The divine weapon revolved around Su Yi's hand as starlight surged around it, exuding an ancient aura. The resplendent saber light suddenly softened as it circled around Su Yi's hand, as if it was caressing him intimately. The bright sacred weapon seemed to have strengthened the connection with Su Yi's heart in an instant. The soft saber light went from his palm to his body. Immediately, Su Yi's mind, including the demon soul of Tian Yuan, seemed to be standing in the galaxy again. The stars were moving, and the heavenly river was circling. "The sacred weapon has awakened." Ling Qinshu exclaimed. "What? Here?" Su Yi was excited. The space above the sea of clouds was distorted. Suddenly, his entire mind was surrounded by a galaxy, as if it was an extremely old voice from ancient times. "Thank you for bringing me home." As soon as he finished speaking, the galaxy began to shrink like a curtain. It gathered into a small purple gold saber shadow and entered the heavenly origin demon soul. In the next moment, Su Yi felt a sense of closeness between the saber shadow and the heavenly origin demon soul. The constellations revolving around the heavenly origin demon soul. Resplendent light from his astral soul blazed like the sun, even more resplendent than before. He has already merged with you and recognized you as his master. He has completely awakened. Ling Qinxue congratulated softly. The heavenly origin demon soul is for my use. Ling Qinxue, who was in the heaven origin demon soul, felt closer to the starry sky soul blade spirit. The ancient energy released the heaven origin demon soul's energy to the extreme. She knew that with a complete saint artifact in hand, Su Yi would have a higher chance of winning in the fierce battle with the ancestor. She was immediately overjoyed. You are really lucky, Ling Qinxue said softly. Su Yi was a little alarmed. Ever since he obtained the starry sky soul blade spirit in the Divine Sword Valley, it was a coincidence. Now that the blade spirit had awakened, it was even more amazing. He still did not understand. He had only taken out the saint artifact. But strangely, Su Yi could already feel the heavy pressure in the sky. The Origin Supreme technique no longer suppressed the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. It was still able to smoothly circulate the primordial chi. It was very comfortable. Su Yi, who was soaking in the primordial chi pool, felt that the great void ocean had completely turned into a boundless sponge. It was crazily absorbing the spiritual chi, and the primordial chi was overflowing. He was about to break through. Boom! Chi-La! The saint artifact revealed its spirit. Immediately, dark clouds covered the sky. The entire hidden Yuan island spun along with the blade, as if it was in a whirlpool. The void was turbulent, and the sacred aura fluctuated. On hidden Yuan Island, the world spun. Countless spiritual birds left as if they were fleeing for their lives. An increasingly terrifying aura of heaven and earth was brewing in the dark clouds. Lightning flashed, thunder rumbled, and the wind and clouds changed color. There was no time to think. The starry sky shock blade gradually emitted a monstrous light. In the blink of an eye, it left Su Yi's palm like a volcanic eruption, like an arrow leaving the bowstring. It carried a terrifying aura and penetrated the beast head gate. Bang! A heavy sound rang above the beast head gate like a cannonball. Suddenly, the sky was filled with smoke and dust. The starlight circulated rapidly in the smoke and dust. The light was sparkling and translucent, and the light diffused out. The beast head gate collapsed like a building block and collapsed in front of Su Yi. The huge stone was incomparably heavy, and it directly smashed a frightening gully on the ground. Whoosh! Another sonic boom rang out. The heavenly star, startling soul, was like a shooting star as it flew back to Su Yi's palm. As if it had a mind of its own, its star runes pulsed as if it was asking for credit from Su Yi. So powerful. Yin Ming and Yang Ming were suddenly dumbfounded. Just now, they joined forces and their power was so powerful, but they still couldn't open the gate. The starry sky shock blade's majestic aura made the two of them feel heavy and difficult to breathe. The two immediately operated their demon aura to ease it a little. Su Yi was suddenly shocked. Once the sacred weapon came out, it could move the mountains and move the sea. Killing the heavens and attacking the earth was not a problem. Sure enough, carefully looking at the sacred weapon in his hand, the starry sky shock blade was purple gold. At this time, the purple blade was suffused with a dazzling golden light. Su Yi couldn't feel the weight of the starry sky shock blade at all. It was as if it came from the palm of his hand. With a thought, the starry sky shock blade disappeared directly. Then, it was directly taken out by Su Yi's summon. The natural intimacy made Su Yi overjoyed and exclaimed in his heart, "Good. This is the same as my demon god battlesuit, one for attack and one for defense. With the awakened sacred weapon, I have more strength. It's more than just strength. The casual attack, just now, was at least the power of a 4th-level Yuan Zone realm martial artist. Together with Su Yi, it was as if Su Yi's cultivation had soared to the 4th level of Yuan Zone realm. Ling Qinxue said unhappily. She could no longer think about just how good Su Yi's luck was. Other than possessing strength that surpassed those of the same level, This sacred artifact was like a tiger that had grown wings. It was truly terrifying. Going quickly, I can feel the state of the blade's spirit. This palace has a strong connection with the blade. Go in and take a look, Ling Qinxue urged softly. Let's go. Without further ado, Su Yi's mind turned, and he kept the sacred weapon. He was instantly complacent. With a wave of his robe, the energy under his feet soared. His body rushed into the hidden origin hall like a shuttle. The Yin-Yang Ming duo followed closely behind him. On Zero Clarity Island, Elder Tang Wang was like a sharp sword, flying across the sky. Starlight surged on his body. Just as he was about to land on the island, a whistling sound swept across his head. Whoosh! Tang Wang recognized it clearly. Standing in the dazzling light was the supreme elder of the Nine Stars Valley, Chen Yu. Chapter 1451. Tang Wang recognized it clearly. Within the bright light, the person flying in the air was the previous Nine Stars Valley's Grand Elder, Chen Yu. Seeing Chen Yu, Tang Wang suddenly remembered that when he entered the Nine Stars Valley as a child, he was personally taught by the Grand Elder. The past seemed like a lifetime ago. From afar, he saw Chen Yu with a head full of silver hair combed down his back. His eyes were hale and hearty, full of desire. Flying in the air, stepping on the profound handle, he was like a streak of starlight passing by. He couldn't hear Tang Wang's call at all. He only left an afterimage in the air and disappeared from the sky above Zero Clarity Island. Tang Wang recognized the direction Chen Yu went. It was obviously hidden Yuan Island where the Nine Stars' old ancestor was. Looking into the distance, the distant hidden Yuan Island was covered by dark clouds. Between the flashes of lightning, the sonorous sound of wind and thunder indicated the coming of a storm. Not good. Sui. Tang Wang immediately frowned. His snow-white beard fluttered in the wind. His mind turned quickly, and he hurriedly changed direction, heading directly for hidden Yuan Island. A bad premonition immediately arose in his heart. According to Su Yi's plan, Shuizhong, Yingwu, and the others would lead the three Middle Islands. According to the White Ape's description, since the previous sect Master Chen Feng and Grand Elder succeeded the Nine Stars' old ancestor and successfully entered the Nine Stars Sea, they firmly occupied the three upper islands. The previous sect Master Chen Feng had always been in charge of the medicine fields of the three Middle Islands. The Nine Stars' old ancestor requested that the great demons not be exterminated. Chen Feng asked Shuizhong and the others to regularly clean the medicine fields of the Nine Stars Valley and provide medicine to the Grand Elder and the old ancestor. Therefore, under the siege of the three Middle Islands, Chan Feng of Alcade Island would definitely go to investigate. At that time, the three clans of Shuizhong and the others would delay the previous sect master, and Tang Wang would go to Zero Clarity Island to confront the Grand Elder and ask the whole story. They divided into three groups. The last one, Su Yi, went to the old ancestor's place, Hidden Yuan Palace, to seek the last opportunity. At this moment, the beastly roars of the three Middle Islands were resounding in the sky. Even though he was far away, Tang Wang could still feel that Shuizhong and the Green Emperor had already opened the star restriction set up in the Nine Stars Valley. Perhaps they were in the midst of a fierce battle and were in a state of anxiety. In the direction of hidden Yuan Island, large patches of dark clouds covered the sky. Lightning flashed and thunder roared. Countless lightning flashed in the clouds, flickering with dazzling light. A terrifying aura gradually spread. Tang Wang, who was rushing to hidden Yuan Island, could no longer see Chen Yu's figure. He was at the third-level origin ancestor realm, so there were few people who could match him. Even though the Grand Elder had been cultivating here for many years and had made a breakthrough in his origin ancestor realm compared to when he had first entered the Calamity Sea realm, it was not to the extent that he could not even catch up to him. Could it be that something big has happened that made Grand Elder so anxious? Bratsu, you must hold on. The Supreme Elder and the Old Ancestor would be two peerless, invincible experts. Tang Wang really didn't know what would happen if he had to face Su Yi alone. All he could do now was to rush over and try his best to avoid a terrible disaster. Whoosh! Unknowingly, the vital chi under Tang Wang's feet spun rapidly, leaving behind afterimages in the air like a ghost. He kept increasing his speed and continued to fly to Hidden Yuan Island. On the other side, among the three middle islands, Migres, Alioth, and Kaiyang Islands were already filled with demonic aura, as if they had taken over the mountains. Every island was filled with shadows of beasts, constantly digging the spiritual herbs in the herb fields. On the peak of the three islands, Shuizhong, Yingwu, and Zhuoro stood on high ground, looking into the distance and using their demonic aura to transmit messages to the beasts below. Every clansman, uproot the spiritual herbs and keep them carefully. If you dig up the 9-turn dragon scale herb, take it all to me. Shuizhong and the other two shouted to the clansmen below. At this moment, Shuizhong, Zhuoro, and Yingwu's eyes were surging with light, as if they had fallen into the clouds. After so many years, they had never thought that they would be able to stand on the peak of the three islands, looking down at the heavens and earth with disdain. They had completely taken back what they should have. This dream has finally come true. Shuizhong's sparkling eyes gradually glowed with sparkling light, and his determined face twitched slightly. Ancestor, did you see that? We have taken back our territory. 9 Stars Valley. I want you to pay with your blood today. Shuizhong roared angrily, his strong muscles glistening under the golden light. Shuizhong opened his arms and roared with all his might. The soaring fire was like a volcanic eruption, instantly igniting the passion of Iron Fist and the other giant white apes. Suddenly, the three islands roared like a tsunami, rising and falling one after another, boiling the sky. Wish for heaven is invincible. Kill the 9 stars old ghost. Iron Fist, Gray Hair, and the others constantly pounded on the ground with their giant fists, causing the ground to shake and the mountains to collapse. Every barbaric beast's emotions were stimulated to the peak. The unprecedented attack made them like a flash flood, crazily looting everything on the three middle islands. Green Emperor looked at the mountains and plains, a large number of barbaric beasts rampaging. Their roars were like thunder, whistling and galloping in the middle of the island. His eyes were also surging with pride and light. Although it's impossible to annihilate all 3 experts today, at least all the resources of the 3 middle islands will be wiped out. In the future, it will be beneficial to the 3 great Forsaken Demon clans. At that moment, the previous sect leader, Chun Feng, had already rushed over like a hurricane. He originally thought that it was just a small declaration of war from the great Forsaken Demon clans. However, what he saw when he came to the 3 middle islands was a frenzy of barbaric beasts, causing the entire island to collapse and the mountains to shake. Chun Feng, who was in his 80s or 90s, was nourished by the spiritual energy of heaven and earth on Alcade Island all day long. His face was rosy, his hair was white, and his complexion was ruddy. His small body was slightly bent. On his old face, his eyes were bright and full of spirit. The scene before him made him feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. His eyes seemed to be erupting with anger. Before he reached the island, his vitality had already risen, and his killing intent was overflowing. Green Emperor caught the surging killing intent from afar. Glancing from the corner of his eye, Green Emperor's long and narrow eyes revealed a trace of surprise. 4th level of Origin Ancestor Realm. According to Shuizhong, the previous sect leader's cultivation base was at the 3rd level of the Origin Ancestor Realm when he first came in. Now that a few decades had passed, he had actually increased by another level. The difference between every level of the Origin Ancestor Realm was like a huge realm. It was extremely difficult to improve by 1 level. Green Emperor's eyes instantly sank, and a bright light flashed. Shuizhong, Zhuoro, and the rest on the island's peak noticed Chun Feng's arrival at the same time. With a leap, they arrived at a low altitude and stood side by side with the Green Emperor. He's here! Shuizhong, Zhuoro, and Ingwu growled at the same time. Their eyes were filled with killing intent as they looked at Qinfeng. The figure that wanted to tear him into pieces, even in his dreams, had finally appeared. The three great demons' eyes were bloodshot, and their demonic aura filled the heavens and earth. This time, even if they had to risk their lives, they had to fight him. Chapter 1452. Qinfeng shouted in a deep voice as he stood facing the wind and released a boundless amount of energy from his body. It was majestic and destructive, like a god pushing the air around him away. You barbarians dare to touch the heritage of the Middle Three Islands? Who gave you the guts? This time, even if the old ancestor pleads for mercy, I will not forgive you. I will send all of you to hell. Shuizhong looked to the side and glared at Qinfeng. His eyes were like blood moons. His demonic qi was like a wave that slapped the air in front of him. He clenched his fists so hard that blood seeped out. He was trembling slightly as he looked at Qinfeng. His eyes were about to burst into flames as he roared towards the sky. Aro, Danielle, Brother Green Emperor, let's go. Okay, everyone shouted. Old Qinfeng, I will take your dog life. Shuizhong gritted his teeth and said. As soon as he finished speaking, the four of them unleashed their terrifying qi. They didn't intend to hold back at all. Everyone seemed to be putting their lives on the line as their vital energy gushed out from their bodies. In the aged heaven and earth, a wave of monstrous waves surged and surged. You are courting death, not far away. Although Qinfeng was annoyed, he didn't put Shuizhong and the others in his eyes. Just as he was about to make his move, he was shocked by the sudden qi of the four. Bang! Qinfeng raised his head and his eyes trembled. The 400 zhang long barbarian demonic beasts turned back to their original forms. They opened and closed, spanning across the sky. Everyone's demonic qi was like a curtain that interweaved into a chain. It covered the entire sky. The middle three islands that were surrounded by clouds were filled with even more demonic qi. Roar! The Mingxia's 100 zhang long body spanned across the sky. Its four wings stirred up the wind. The aura of the golden dragon spread, and the faint roar of the golden dragon reverberated in the air. It was as if it had come from the ancient times and devoured the world. Green light shone brightly, and the scales on its body shone brightly. A green light shot out from the Green Emperor's control and rushed towards Qinfeng. On the other side, the thousand-faced jade fox's demonic qi rose. Its body flickered with light, and its enchanting eyes spread out. The world suddenly became incomparably illusory, as if it had fallen from the clouds. Its claws were like hooks. When the sky was about to be submerged, it immediately enlarged and caught Qinfeng off guard. The divine ox shook the heavens. Its body was like an iron wall and shining with light. It was incomparably huge, like a scarlet pheasant that descended from the ancient times. The desiring the heavens, snow, ape crossed the mountains and rivers. Its fierce eyes were resplendent like a sea of fire. Its face was burning fiercely. Shuizhong's body was covered in white fur, and his muscles were bulging. With a leap, he directly jumped onto a mountain and lifted up half of the mountain. With a furious roar, half of the mountain was smashed towards Qinfeng's direction like a cannonball. Scarlet. Countless savage beasts rushed into the sky. They formed an incomparably huge tornado among the four beasts. It was spinning crazily. Qinfeng's heart trembled. He hurriedly operated this stellar record. Countless martial techniques were shot out from his palm. He barely avoided the simultaneous attacks of the four beasts. His figure suddenly retreated. His expression gradually became serious. He finally felt that something was wrong. This time, Qinfeng felt an unprecedented attack. Are these beasts crazy? Why are they so strong today? Qinfeng was not afraid. The terrifying aura around him circulated. Between the heavens and the earth, a pillar of starlight descended from the sky. It was as if someone had torn open a gap in the sky. The light filled the sky as if it had directly struck down from the 9th layer of heaven. Star Dragon Imperial Flash. Very quickly, The ancient island was filled with dazzling light. Lightning and thunder were like dragons, dazzling and resplendent. Following the flickering of the stars, the lightning dragon whizzed out and chopped down the mountain range, splitting the heavens and the earth. Fight! Blood for blood. Blood for blood. Shuizhong's side went all out. He did not hold back at all. In an instant, countless savage beasts rushed out. With the help of his fleshly body filled with demon aura, he created an extremely strong demon clan wall in front of him. Along with an astonishing gust of wind, the demon clan wall collided fiercely with the starlight pillar in the air. Wong. Such a collision was like two meteors colliding in the sky. Immediately, the island trembled violently. A gap was created in the wall of beasts. The savage beasts that were knocked to the ground directly smashed a huge hole in the mountain range below. Countless cracks spread out like a spiderweb. The four beasts hovered in the sky. Among the beasts, one figure after another rushed into the sky fearlessly. The monstrous gale brought with it a foul wind and bloody rain. Blood chi filled the air. The power that was enough to destroy everything caused Shun Feng's eyes to tremble. Kill. Iron Fist, Gray Hair, and the rest were mixed in with the beasts. Compared to their usual simple and honest expressions, they were now filled with killing intent. Scarlet blood chi filled the sky. Their beastly aura was dazzling like the sun. Good men of the demon race. Fight! Shuizhong, Yingwu, and the rest were also influenced by their beastly brothers and sisters. Their huge bodies rushed out to kill. Charge! Green Emperor and Zhuoro followed behind the savage beasts and rushed toward Shinfeng. Their killing intent was surging like a sea of rage. At this moment, everyone was facing a common enemy. There was only a deep hatred in their hearts. Their eyes were filled with boundless rage to tear Shinfeng into pieces. The ancient sky and earth changed color instantly. The sky and earth were vast and mighty. Dark clouds rolled. In a flash, the clouds were already tainted with a demonic wind that was as dazzling as a rainbow. You're courting death. Shinfeng no longer underestimated the enemy. He snorted coldly, and another pillar of light gushed out from his hand. The absolute territory of a fourth-level origin ancestor was unleashed. It hit the beasts mercilessly. Instantly, blood splattered and screams filled the sky. Due to the restriction of a 9-stars valley, the descendants of the beasts who could absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to grow quickly were mostly weak in the fight. Hence, they were easily defeated. However, all the savage beasts, including Iron Fist, were fearless. They were defeated and gathered again. Zhuoro's eyes were already clear when she saw this. She wiped away her tears and fought with the other beasts to kill Shinfeng. Scarlet blood streaked across the sky. The blood seemed to have awakened the beastly nature hidden in the hearts of the beasts. The primitive bloodthirst suddenly exploded at this moment. Wave after wave of beasts rushed toward Shinfeng. It was like an endless wave that was about to extinguish Shinfeng. Kill. Fight to the death. 9 stars must die. For Yu Qian, for our ancestors, for the dignity of the beasts. Kill all the 9 stars bastards. The beasts' roars were shocking. Looking from afar, Situ Miang, who was at the entrance of the Calamity Sea, could see the beasts' roars on the 3 middle islands. The beasts' roars were shocking. The beasts' roars were like divine radiance. Chapter 1453. The locust-like figures of the barbaric demonic beasts kept flashing and pouncing in the sky. The sound of wind and thunder, accompanied by the roar of the demonic beasts, spread across the sky. The densely packed figures directly occupied the sky above the 3 middle islands. The sky rumbled as the demonic beasts roared. Not good. Shinfeng, who was gradually getting tired, shouted inwardly. He realized that he was already in the center of countless demonic beasts and was tightly surrounded by hundreds of huge bodies. Every single barbaric demonic beast was pouncing on him as if they had gone crazy. He did not feel any pain. The aura in the sky was extremely berserk. The baleful aura overflowed the sky. Chunfeng's vision was filled with blood. After a long while, although Chunfeng's absolute domain was still there, as the demonic beast kept getting closer, the range of his defense was getting smaller and smaller. After all, it was difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. Chunfeng gradually fell into a disadvantage. The 4 barbaric demonic beasts were like ancient demonic beasts. Their gazes were cold as they gave out orders. All the barbaric demonic beasts trembled and worked together. They tore at each other, causing a violent wind to sweep across the land. Immediately, baleful aura pervaded the air. Chunfeng continuously used his 9-star martial technique to the extreme. He who had been living in seclusion for many years felt that his physical strength was running out. Large beads of sweat quickly flowed down Chunfeng's cheeks. His expression changed, and he was sweating profusely. This was completely a massacre. It was completely different from the previous greater demonic beasts declaring war. This time, the 3 greater demonic beasts seemed to have a plan. They had a goal to fight to the death with him. Who was the mastermind behind this? What's going on? Isn't this too ferocious? Chunfeng, who had been fighting for a long time without any success, started to get anxious. The radiance on his palm did not stop. Just as he struck out, it was covered by the wave of demonic beasts. He wanted to break free, but it was already too late. The 3 middle islands were relatively close to each other. They were connected by the demonic blood-red light that covered the sky. From afar, it looked like an island. The demonic radiance on the island shone brightly. Shocking collision sounds continued to explode, causing the 3 islands to shake. Bang bang. The demonic beasts were like a wall. The berserk beast domain that was built with flesh and blood directly contended with Chunfeng's absolute domain. The aura was majestic like 10,000 horses galloping. In a short period of time, ear-piercing sonic booms cut through the air like lightning. In the next instant, Chunfeng once again formed hand seals and used all of his strength to summon the power of the stars. His figure rose up, but he was once again beaten back to his original position by the beast tide. His small figure was like a mosquito among the beasts. In the darkness, the boundless Yuan Qi barrier around Chunfeng's body was still being eroded by the beast horde. Chunfeng's expression was grave as he pondered. Not good. If this continues, I'll definitely die. On the other side, the beast tide was so powerful that it shocked and encouraged Shui Zhong and the others. This had never happened before. Everyone's morale rose. The auras of the 4 beasts were incomparably fierce. The crowd's bright eyes were like 2 blood moons as they stared covetously at Chunfeng, who was surrounded. Boom! In the middle of the beast horde, a starry sword radiance shot up into the sky. It was so powerful that some of the savage beasts that were close to it were sliced into 2 by the sword radiance. Chunfeng was like a starry divine, soared as he rose into the sky. Borrowing the momentum, he turned around and escaped from the beast horde's encirclement. Shui Zhong and the others looked at each other and ordered the barbarian beasts to stop attacking. The power of the sword was too strong. Everywhere it passed, deep cracks appeared on the island. Huge rocks were shattered and the mountains collapsed. Chunfeng, who had escaped, was not in a much better state. He was hovering in the air, gasping for breath. His hands, which were leaning on his sword, were constantly trembling. It was obvious that he had used up too much of his Yuan Qi just now. Looking at the dense beast horde in the sky, Chunfeng's expression was grave. He was no longer as spirited as before. His body stood in the sky, and the surrounding divine light was a lot dimmer than before. You bastards! I admit that you have courage. However, if you want to overturn the heavens, you are still too inexperienced. Chunfeng shouted as he stared at the next wave of beasts. In the sky, Chunfeng's body was covered in a bloody aura. His silver hair was fluttering and flowing with brilliance. The long sword in his hand was accompanied by sword radiance as it brought along a wave of thunderous sound. The silver-white elemental Yuan Qi radiance was like a ball of light that enveloped Chunfeng's body. He shouted in the wind, and looked down on the beast horde with disdain. 9 Stars Valley, who do you think you are? You snatched our Calamity Sea and ordered our ancient demon clan around. How can you be so righteous? Shuizhong's eyes were cold as he shouted angrily. Waves of fire surged in his eyes, and a murderous and bloody aura surrounded the sky. Hearing this, Chun Feng's body surged with light. A monstrous aura was majestic and vast. His yuan qi gradually calmed down, and a faint voice came from the sky. Martial arts flourish. Life and death are ruled by fate. With killing in hand, all living things will bow down. If you don't have the ability, you should be enslaved. Shuizhong's eyes were like 2 blood-red moonlights. He clenched his fists so hard that his veins popped out. With killing in hand, all living things will bow down. Today, I want to see how 9 Stars Valley can continue to be so arrogant. Sky Desire Clan, are you ready? Standing at the peak of the beast horde, Shuizhong's original form was like an ancient ape god descending. The north wind blew, and white demon qi radiance lingered around him as he glared at Qinfeng. We are ready. As Shuizhong's voice fell, the beast horde below responded loudly. Their roars were like thunder in spring, exploding in all directions and shaking the sea of clouds. 3 clans, listen up. I swear in the name of the ancient ancestor. If the 9 stars are not destroyed, I swear I will not live in disgrace. Shuizhong took a deep breath and opened his eyes again. A blood-red light burst out. His huge palm pointed to the sky. The white demon qi radiance of the giant ape god rushed into the clouds like a sharp sword. It was extremely terrifying. When Zhuo and Ying Wu saw Shuizhong being so excited, their blood and heroism reached the extreme. If the 9 stars are not destroyed, I swear I will not live in disgrace. The 2 of them responded to Shuizhong's words. Iron Fist, Gray Hair, and the rest raised their fists to the sky and continuously agitated. They let out earth-shaking roars one after another, causing the atmosphere to reach its climax. They wanted to protect their home. They wanted to take back everything. This was their paradise, 9 Stars Valley. They took over someone's valley, stole their foundation, and suppressed their cultivation. How deep was their hatred? Today, they would settle this once and for all. Following that, the mountains shook and the sea of cloud shattered. Waves of sound rushed into the sky, one after another, causing the entire world to tremble. Hundreds of huge barbaric beasts once again occupied the sky. Every pair of eyes was like the flames of hell burning fiercely. The barbaric beasts that had just been beaten to the ground once again returned to the beast horde. They were extremely ferocious as they stared at Qinfeng without any fear. The shadows of the barbaric beasts overlapped. Their cold teeth were gleaming. The bloody figures were like warriors who were unafraid of death. The Green Emperor couldn't help but be slightly moved. He once again thought of that figure. In front of the Su clan's gate tower, the young man who fought bravely while bathed in blood. He didn't hesitate to exchange his life for a mysterious power. He didn't hesitate to take the risk of self-destruction to protect the Su clan's disciple, Su Yi. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.